What's up, everyone? This is Joe with comiXalliance,
And this is Chris.
and this is our podcast. This is issue number 8, I believe, right?
Yep.
Okay, so welcome to issue number 8. Tonight, we are going to talk about the King in Black event as a whole. We are going to drop some major spoilers. We'll definitely give you guys some heads up or a heads up when we get to the spoiler part. So feel free to listen without having to worry about any of that. And then once we mention it, obviously, you make the decision if you want to continue listening or not, because we are going to talk about Venom, Absolute Carnage, some Thor, some Silver Surfer Black, and as well as King in Black. Silver Surfer Black, though, we're saving to go into full detail at another time, just because we loved it so much. We want to have our own little episode or issue set aside for that. So yeah, so expect some spoilers tonight, but expect some good conversation about the event as a whole. So we're gonna do a spoiler-free part, and then we're gonna get into the spoilers about maybe midway through. All right,
Yep.
so Chris, if you want to go ahead and lead off.
All right. Sounds good. So we've been super excited to finally do this episode on King in Black, but we did want to go over with a bunch of the other stories leading up to the event just to get a more in-depth experience into the event. Because the event itself, it's one of those blockbuster type comic book runs. It's kind of like watching the equivalent to Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. So if you want to have a better experience into getting to the event, you want to, like watch the previous movies, or in this case, read the previous stories leading up to the event. So that's what we're going to be going over right now. And to start it off, it's going to be, from my recommendation, is Thor: God of Thunder by Jason Aaron, the God Butcher story arc. This is basically I believe issues either 1 through 9 or 1 through 18. If you read that whole run, it talks about All Black and Gore the God Butcher, which basically mentions a little bit of one of the main villains that was created from that story arc. And that story arc with Thor has got to be one of my favorite Thor runs that I've ever read. It's really good. It's very lore filled, and just a lot of good writing for the Thor character. If you guys are big fans of Thor, I know it's really difficult to find right now with the single issues and trade paperbacks, but if you guys can find it, I definitely recommend that you pick it up. I believe they might have the single or like the smaller trades available, and you should be able to get those. But I think I don't know if you heard, Joe, if they optioned to make that story, because I heard they casted, who was it, Christian Bale to play as Gore. I don't know if
Oh,
that
I
was
didn't hear anything
okay.
about this.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard, but I could be wrong. I don't know if that was the rumor or not, but I think that's part of the reason why the trade paperbacks and single issues have been skyrocketing a lot. So
Well, that and
um,
because it's the precursor to King in Black, so that can also, you know, that can also cause it
yeah,
to skyrocket. But definitely,
right,
rumors of it being optioned, or that alone, like not even it being one Jason Aaron into a precursor to King in Black, just
yeah,
hearing the word TV show or movie being
yeah.
tied to the name automatically like doubles, triples things in
Yeah, which is
value.
which is insane, because even if it's just a theory, like people, start scooping these things up, and
Scoops.
yep, just scooping it up. uh, but yeah, in regards to the Thor God Butcher or God of Thunder storyline, I believe that's where Donny Cates derived and created a new character and built this lore that goes back even as far back as the Infinity Gauntlet, and years back, and even the first appearance of the alien costume and whatnot. And the reason why I really love these writers is because they've actually read their comics back then, and they know their history, and they use that history to tie it in and create something new that just makes sense overall, which is great. And I believe that's very difficult to do, and they did it very well.
Oh, most definitely. This was probably one of the most epic events that I've ever read. And
Yeah,
obviously there's no denying how epic the Infinity, saga is,
yeah,
and even like smaller events when you put it on scale. Like if we're just talking, let's not even talk tie-ins, let's just talk 5 issues. Let's compare even like Civil War and just the 5 issues of King and Black.
yeah,
This was definitely much bigger. Different time period, I know, so maybe that could have something to do with it, but I just feel like more happened. Like, things were definitely more devastating to individuals and to everyone as a whole, like the Avengers and, just other heroes who were involved.
yeah, definitely.
So,
And the next story arc, that's, well, I want to say, just to go over the main character that really is being told throughout these multiple stories and series, is the story of Venom. So if you guys want to read a character that really focuses on the series that leads up to this event, that is going to be the Venom run by Donny Cates. If you guys are watching YouTube, I got the first volume of the hardcover, which collects the first 12 issues, and also the second volume that came out, I believe, this year. And I think the third volume is going to be coming out sometime in the summer this year.
isn't
So
that
if you
Venom?
guys,
Sorry, isn't
what's
that
up?
Venom number 25 on the cover?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's the cover that they use for
that's
volume
awesome.
2. Yeah, and this collects issues 16 through 25, because 13 through 15 is actually collected in the
War
War
of
of
the
the
Realms.
Realms omnibus. Yes. So such a great read. I don't know why I held off on this. It started coming out a little bit before I started collecting comics again, so I was a little bit behind. But I was really glad that they put these hardcovers out. Hopefully, they come out with an omnibus that just collects everything in one book, because the single issues are just way
Yes,
too
I
expensive.
was I was actually going to bring that up for anyone who's interested in reading this. Do not waste your time trying to get these single issues unless you plan to spend a couple $100 for just a few issues alone. Like issue
Yeah,
number 3, I think the cheapest you'll find it is probably about 180,
yeah,
and that's like for like a third printing or something stupid. If you start
yeah,
looking for first printings, you're paying way more. So
yeah,
I'd recommend, if you just want to read it first, just jump into something. Just buy the trade paperbacks. Don't go nuts, trying to collect these single issues.
yeah. And the whole reason why the whole series is kind of expensive, especially the first 12, is just because it's really popular. It's one of the more popular runs that's going on right now. And on top of that, issue 3 was the first appearance of Null, which is the god of symbiotes, which is the main villain for this entire arc. And yeah, ever since people speculated that that is the first appearance of Null, everyone started getting them, whether it be second printings, third printings. Sometimes the third printing is going way more than the first one, which kind of doesn't make sense. The cover looks better, but it's not official first appearance. So
Yeah, but either way, just just don't bother with single issues unless you got the money
yeah,
to burn. That's all I have to say. Uh,
yeah,
I read it all through trades because I didn't jump into the series until it was already several issues in, and it was impossible to find some of these.
yeah.
I just waited for the trades and got those. It was
Yeah, and
fine.
I really wanted Joe to experience and read and catch up on all the issues. I'm like, there's no way you're gonna be able to get the first
Yeah,
5 or 6 issues. It's ridiculous.
because I
So
was already collecting like the later ones that I had
yeah,
that had come out, and like I'd gotten a couple from before, but
yeah,
just trying to hold out. No, but thankfully, actually for Christmas, your Christmas gift to me was the first 3, and yeah, it was the first 3 and the Absolute Carnage tie-in, right?
yeah.
No,
Or
yes,
first 3 or 4 volumes of the trade paperbacks.
Well, it was the three that just say like Venom, and then it was the
Yeah.
Absolute Carnage Venom as well. So four total.
Oh, okay, got it.
And then
Nice.
the one that's Absolute Carnage, 1 through 5, I bought that later.
Nice. I know I told you to like, dude, you guys, you got to read that before you start reading King in Black too, because
Yeah.
that's I felt like it was a definite read before you read the King in Black event.
Yeah.
So
Which oh
oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. No, no, you're good.
So after reading the Venom line, another main series that you guys should be reading before reading the King in Black series is Silver Surfer Black. It's a very short read. It's written by Donny Cates and art done by Trad Moore, which is really amazing art. Some people either dislike it or really like it because the artwork is very
Psychedelic.
psychedelic. Yeah, and it's artwork that I've never seen before, never seen done, and it looks really cool. It just transports you into different dimensions and just mind-blowing experiences for the character, for the Silver Surfer, and seeing him go black and the reasons why he goes black is ridiculous. Like, you guys need to read it. So that's one of the other main series that you guys need to that we recommend that you read before King in Black.
It's
Um,
I just want to touch on that. It's
yeah,
not
sure.
100% like you have to read it. You won't understand,
No,
what's
not
going
at
on
all.
if you don't. But
Mhm.
just do yourself a favor and just read it because it's that
Yeah,
good. It
exactly.
has some stuff that ties in that you will find to be important, but it's not a make or break. But I still highly recommend it. Like definitely, like if I were to make an official reading list, I would put that on there without it. I mean, I guess this is as close as we're gonna make to our official reading list.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah,
And
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, and the next one that I definitely recommend you guys picking up and reading is the Absolute Carnage main event. This is the omnibus. This collects all the tie-ins in between it, which you don't necessarily need. I believe the main event or the main 5 issues
That's 5. Yeah.
is good enough to really prepare you and get you hyped up for the King in Black series.
Yeah.
So I believe I've gone over the Venom run, Silver Surfer Black, Absolute Carnage, and Thor: God of Thunder, the God Butcher. Those main 4 series is what I recommend you guys read in order to just get a more in-depth experience and just a more complete experience once you get into King in Black. The order that I recommend reading is starting off with the Venom run into Absolute Carnage. You could read, or actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, Thor: God of Thunder first. Um,
Specifically, isn't it
yeah.
just issue 6 that's like really important?
Yeah, but I mean, I still recommend reading like issues 1 through 6 or 1 through 9. But yeah, 6 would be the main one, I believe. And after reading Thor: God of Thunder, going into Venom, and then Absolute Carnage, you could fit Silver Surfer Black in between those. It kind of like happens possibly around the same time, so it's not too important whether you read before or after
Um,
those two.
I just want to throw this in there because you said from Venom to Absolute Carnage, it's more specifically Venom's 1 through 12,
Yes, yeah,
and
Venom 1
then
through 12.
Absolute Carnage 1 through 5, right?
Yeah, because the I believe the six issues 16, what was it, 16 uh
25,
through 16 through
24.
22 or 23 or something happens, I think, after Absolute Carnage, or it might
Man,
be tie-ins that they are. So
we should
one
have
of
been a little
those.
more prepared for this. I have it right here. I feel like I know this stuff until I have to talk about it. Like it's just like random knowledge I know, and
Yeah.
then once it comes down to bringing it up, I start forgetting. So, to be clear, it was Venom's 1 through 12,
Yes.
and then 16 through 20 was for anybody watching on YouTube. This is the Absolute Carnage. So, Venom's 1 through 12, Absolute Carnage 1 through 5, then it was this, correct?
Yeah,
And
16
then
through 20.
16 through 20. So keep
Yeah.
in mind, like we had mentioned earlier, you can skip the 14 through or 13, I'm sorry, through 15 Venoms because those are War of the Realms tie-ins. Then you jump into this one, which is 21 through
Venom Island.
25. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Venom Island isn't as important as some of the other stuff, but it's still a really good read, and it does I don't want to spoil this because we haven't got the spoilers yet, but it does
Mm.
kind of bring some stuff back from the past. And
Right,
so
right.
it's not like super important, but it's definitely something you want to read. And it's probably as a whole the weakest arc in this Venom buildup, but I still enjoyed it. I still really like the Venom Island stuff.
Oh yeah, it was great. I believe it just keeps on building on the Venom
Yeah,
character. Gives more depth for that character.
definitely.
If you love Venom, another issue that you could probably pick up if you can't find the other issues or other trade paperbacks. If you can find this, I think this was. Do you remember what issue this was? It was like a null.
It was
Uh, Spotlight or something,
not
or
Spotlight.
anthology.
No, it was Marvel Tales.
There you go. Yeah, Marvel Tales. And this collects Venom issue 3,
Three,
4,
four,
Web of Venom, Carnage Born, and then
25.
Venom 25. I wish they collected that Thor issue in here, but it's all right. This is a kind of like a shorter read of what you need to know about Null in order to just jump straight into the series.
Yeah, I think the concept is just if you can't find everything or can't afford everything,
Yeah.
that red cover to cover should catch you up on
Hmm.
at least the important points, but you're missing a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd still recommend reading everything, and hell, read that
Yep.
just
Exactly.
because it's awesome to have. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is
So
definitely an option.
those are pretty much all the recommended reading series to experience before you guys get into the King in Black event. Right here, if you guys are on YouTube, I have the entire connecting variants from issue 1 all the way to issue 5. On the top here, I got issue 1, all the cover A's, covers one, issues 1 through 5 as well. And on the bottom here, I just have a few really cool issue 1 variants. So um, yeah, and that's pretty much about it that we recommend to read before you get into the King in Black event. So right now we're gonna jump into a little bit of spoiler territory when it comes to the series before getting into King in Black. And Joe, did you want to start off with that, since we already kind of went over Thor, God of Thunder, and the God Butcher and stuff? So
Yeah. Before jumping in, anyone on YouTube, I just want to point out on the bottom row of his comics, that one in the center is probably my favorite cover. That
oh
was
yeah, this
from
one
all of
was
King and
really
Black.
cool. Yep.
Yes, I own that one too. I love that cover so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
god, it's
great.
so awesome to look at. Sometimes
Yeah,
when
I
I'm
think
going
this
through
was
my
I believe this was the 1 in 50 incentive.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, when I'm going through my my collection filing stuff and I come across that, I just take it out sometimes and look at it for a minute.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so
Right.
that aside,
Yeah.
so where should I even start?
You could probably start off with Venom. Let's start off with Venom.
Okay, so to start with Venom, to get into some spoiler territory, part of the reason I think this was so good and is so important to read, like aside from the introduction of Null, but you actually learn of Dylan Brock, who
Yes.
Eddie goes on, like once he meets him, he thinks he's his brother, or this whole time he thinks that he's his brother, and he comes to find out from their I want to say he was an alcoholic, correct? Your dad
Eddie Brock?
or his dad? Yeah, no, Eddie Brock's
Or
dad.
yeah, yeah.
He was
Is
abusive, I know that.
yeah, definitely.
So he goes to like save his brother from their dad, so he thinks, and later finds out from Was it or was it not from the Venom symbiote that he finds out that
That
that's his son?
I believe it was the symbiote that
Yeah,
that
he
knows.
finds out that's actually his son. And so it's little things like that that start building up that actually become very relevant later on. So just jumping into like King and Black number one, you already kind of you that's established, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have I don't think it would have as much of an impact to a new reader jumping in at King and Black one and be like, oh, Eddie Brock's got a son, but it hits a lot harder and like the emotions go a lot more when you realize what he had to go through to save his son, to like fight for his son, and to make sure that, the symbiotes don't get him, they don't, he doesn't have to suffer and go through the pain that he did, and that's one thing I actually really loved about the opening to Venom. I shouldn't say the opening, but the early issues of Venom,
Yeah, I
like
think
why
that
it
starts
stood
off
out.
on issues like 6 or 7 or something.
Yeah, but it's like slowly building to this because
Mhm.
Eddie Brock's like a complete just mess at the start
Yeah.
of this,
Yeah.
and I mean obviously that's no surprise. Eddie Brock's always been a mess.
Yeah.
So it's not like he ever had these like really crazy redeeming qualities about himself, but
Yeah.
um so he's just an absolute mess and going through this and like it's like testing his patience, it's testing what he has in himself, and
Yeah.
it's kind of where you start to see Eddie Brock kind of teeter on the anti-hero, but actually where you start to see, at least I felt, where you start to see more hero than anti-hero or even villain from Venom, because all my life I've always grown up and I just always considered Venom a villain, despite his like back and forth and little things like that. So this I
Yeah.
felt it kind of took him to the light side, or the better side a lot more.
Yeah.
And again, kind of like just to reiterate my point, and then I'll let you jump in. That's why I felt it brings up a bunch of emotion in yourself, and
Yeah.
it just kind of makes you connect with Eddie a lot more. And it makes you care about his son and why he has a son. Because if you just like flip open the first couple of pages and you're cool, Eddie's got a son. Why do I care about him? You get what I'm saying, right? Like
Yeah.
why would you care about the events of King and Black, like surrounding Dylan, if you didn't care about Dylan's existence prior to that?
Yeah, exactly.
So go, you were gonna say something, so
Oh yeah. Just to chime in and towards the beginning of Venom, for the Venom run with Donny Cates anyway. So the premise of the story is basically this militarized group. I believe they were called Weapon Plus or Weapon H or something, and they decided to I think it was take pieces of the symbiote and use it as a weapon, and or to weaponize the symbiote.
mm-hmm.
And from doing that, from splitting Venom or Eddie Brock's symbiote, it triggers some memories of the symbiote, because the whole premise of the symbiote is it takes on different hosts through its lifetime. And I think it dates back all the way to the stories of Thor and Beowulf, at least from the Jason Aaron run. And it had some flashbacks of what happened back then, and it shows it in the issues, and it shows these I think Norse warriors that were being attacked by dragon symbiote, and they were yelling for Beowulf to save them. And instead of Beowulf arriving and saving the day, Thor comes out and he says, "Oh, I do not know who this Beowulf you speak of, but it will answer your prayers and save you from this beast or whatever." And he shows up with the hammer and everything and strikes the symbiote dragon with lightning. And that was the first time that the symbiote dragon was ever struck like that. And it's basically weak against lightning and any form of light. So it remembered that, so it triggered that memory from Eddie's symbiote, and then he basically has to go onto this mission where he has to stop these bad guys to from attacking or transporting something, and he ends up fighting a group of I don't know if they're Clintar or they're just um, like symbiotes that are or soldiers that are kind of like under a spell or something from Null, and that's what unlocks Null, which is the god of the symbiotes, and it kind of like uh, minor like introduces them in the second issue, and then fully introduces them into the third issue, which he completely appears, and he talks about like where he's from, like kind of like his origin story in issue 3. And my god, like the introduction of him is just almost overpowering. Like, you do not want to mess with this guy. He's the god of symbiotes, the god of the abyss, and he's the one that created All Black, which is a powerful, I think, weapon or sword that he created back in Thor, God of Thunder. And yeah, just that introduction of him controlling the symbiotes back then, and Donny Cates just rewriting history of like what has been written already. Like, for example, Planet of the Symbiotes. If you guys read any of those stories back then, it basically talks about literally a planet of symbiotes called the Clintar, or I think they mentioned the Clintar, which is basically the symbiotes like most powerful warrior and whatnot. And the Clintar are their own species of symbiotes and whatnot. So what Donny Cates does into introducing Null, he basically rewrites that history and says that the planet of the symbiotes is not an actual planet. It's actually Clintar means cage in the symbiote language, and that's what the all the symbiotes are like, trying to encase, which is Null. Like, that's the whole reason why that planet exists, is because they're trying to entrap and encase Null from escaping and dispersing like evil everywhere. So I thought that was really cool. The fact that Donny Cates was able to take something that's been written like back in the 90s and bringing it back, modernizing it, and just changing history and making it tie into a really cool event and storyline. I thought that was really great.
And so much, like you say, like rewriting, but I like that it's not like he's not like making it like a new canon. Like, he's not saying like
Yeah.
whatever happened in these old issues didn't happen. It's like
No.
he's
Yeah.
adding on to them. He's building on this
Yeah.
like small premise, and he's
Yeah.
making it in its entire world, and
Yeah.
like he's giving this like thing that's was like a blip, life, and like a
Yeah.
whole origin. It's amazing, how he
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah, and I've honestly, I've never seen that done. So I was, really excited when I was reading through it. I was really stuck in the lore that he was creating, even just from Null's narration. I thought that was really cool. So from then on, I knew this was a series that I wanted to read, because I haven't read a really good Venom run in forever. So yeah, and moving forward, I think we could jump into Absolute Carnage, correct?
Yeah, give me 1 sec. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. Can
Oh,
hear
you're
my
good.
nephew yelling, and I don't need any obscenities he says picking up on, on this.
Yeah.
Hopefully nothing was picked up, but it was pretty loud, so I just wanted to make sure that the door was
No
shut.
worries,
So
man.
anyway, and we're on completely not only opposite ends of the house, but like I'm not like detached. You know how the setup
Hmm.
is. I'm like nowhere near,
Yeah,
like
and you
that
can still
part.
pick up noise. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No
So anyway,
worries.
so Absolute Carnage. I might be mixing things up because I feel like
Mhm.
some of the story gets retold some different ways, but the whole thing with Oh, why am I drawing a blank on his name? The original the original Venom host, not Flash
Original
Thompson.
Eddie Brock,
No, the other guy.
the original Venom host.
Yes, the one who was in Vietnam.
Oh,
Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Wow,
I don't think I memorized his name.
I don't either. He's the one who helps him throughout. Oh, I can't reach my Absolute Carnage from here. Um, with like the whole like where he's telling him the story. I can't even remember if this is actually in Venom because I read it all so close together. Where he's telling him the story about when they were on that mission and all the other. Oh, actually, you know what? This was in Venom, I believe, when
Uh-huh.
they all died except for him.
Yeah.
That was in the first Venom, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, it
the
was in the
first.
Venom series.
Okay, I'm trying to remember where Absolute Carnage picks up with the story.
Absolute Carnage picks up a little bit after he sees Dylan and everything.
Man, I'm drawing a huge blank. This is bad.
Well, I mean,
Gotta come prepared.
we pretty much pick up where after he meets Dylan and his symbiote like separates from him.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so after that we jump into Absolute Carnage, but I can't recall what that guy's name is. I guess
Cat's
the
driving me
original.
nuts. Hold on. Let
I
me see
mean,
if I
I mean,
can.
I mean, it's not what we read in the '90s, so like that's why I'm like, oh, it's Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock's the first.
Yeah, I remember
Well,
the like.
well, technically, it's isn't
Can't
it
get it.
Peter
Look.
Parker Spider Man?
No,
Since
well, yes, but I'm talking. I just busted out my Absolute Carnage. Give me a sec. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can find the moment. Oh, I'm sorry. Absolute Carnage picks up when they're in the prison, or he's Eddie Brock's in prison.
yeah,
That's right. So it starts when he's in prison. He gets in a fight, and does he get in a fight with? Man, I should have probably reread this before tonight. I just have like King and Black on the brain right now. Like specifically, like what happened in issue 5.
yeah. No, that's why we usually want to have like a layout of what we want to talk about, so we don't get lost. But it's all right. So, anyways,
That's
what
right.
about that character?
I'm sorry. I can't. Okay, I was mixing my things up. I had to look at something. I remember now. So this is where Carnage is going, and he's ripping out the spines of everyone who's ever worn a symbiote.
Yeah, so
That's right.
just before we expand on that, the whole at least the beginning of Absolute Carnage, Null pretty much brings back the Carnage symbiote
Yes.
and Cletus Cassidy, and pretty much brings him back to do his bidding. And in order for Null to wake up or break free from the Clintar or the planet of the symbiotes, um, he is having Carnage collect codexes, is from what they call it,
Yeah.
codexes to collect in order for him to break free. And the way Carnage is doing that is very brutal and very violent. And he basically rips out the spines of pretty much anyone that's been a symbiote user, or that has possessed the symbiote
I don't think
costume
there's even like a time frame. Like I think if you've just ever had it
ever.
attached
Yeah.
to you, even if it was for like a minute, it doesn't
Yep.
matter. Like because as he explains, it's embedded in you. Like there's a piece of it that stays with you forever. And so
Yeah.
the whole 5 issue run is pretty much him doing that and Eddie trying to stop it.
Yeah,
And
and that goes between Eddie, Spider-Man. If you guys read through it, Captain America, Wolverine, and the Hulk jump into it, trying to stop it before it's too late.
yeah,
So it's such a good read. It's such a fun and violent way to fight Carnage and whatnot. Because not only Carnage is doing the bidding and whatnot, but he has other symbiotes like possessing different people and different heroes and having them like fight against the superheroes, and they're just getting overpowered and getting possessed as well.
This is when they brought back or brought like Phage and all them, right? It was like 4 different ones, and I think it was it brought in Scream.
Brought in Scream, some of the symbiotes from Separation Anxiety, like
Yeah,
I think did they bring in
let me see.
Toxin as well?
I don't think Toxin was just. I'm gonna look real quick.
Uh,
I'm gonna flip through see if I can find it because I know in some of the tie-ins, especially the Miles Morales tie-ins, I did read those. They were good. It
yeah,
introduced or it had Scream, right? And was it Phage in that one?
I can't remember too much of the other symbiotes, but they did have some of the symbiotes that were uh, shown in Separation Anxiety, for those of you guys that have read it.
I like how we're both flipping through now.
uh, I mean,
Uh,
honestly, it doesn't really matter to get the names, but
oh, I know. I just
that's pretty much what is happening in the Absolute Carnage run for the tie-ins anyway. But there's some really cool scenes where the heroes are just overpowered with against a horde of like Carnage symbiotes and stuff. So they first go into the I think it's shoot, what's the prison called? Do you remember what the prison was called? I think it was
Ravencroft.
Ruins of Ravencroft.
Ravencroft, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where they get some of the other bad guys that teams up with them. And for those of you that are fans of Maximum Carnage, they bring back a handful of characters that teamed up to fight against them, which are like Dagger, Shriek, or not Shriek, Dagger, Cloak, Deathlock, Morbius, and Iron Fist. I thought that was really cool because they have never had a reunion after the whole Maximum Carnage event, and it's funny that they actually point that out when they when they meet up in the sewers to save I believe one of the detectives underneath.
When they go into Ravencroft, wasn't it to bust out Norman Osborn?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a pretty frightening set of pages with him.
yeah,
Like he's already nuts, but the way he was portrayed, like just straight
yeah,
up demented.
yeah.
It was
They're
pretty
like, "Are you
awesome.
sure we want to try to save him?" Like,
Yeah. One part that actually really stood out in this, well, there are two things that really stood out to me. I was flipping through it. There was one. Okay, I saw again. No surprise, I'm going to bring this up. I love Spider-Man, and I love Miles Morales.
I
So
do as well.
seeing Miles Morales be turned into a symbiote was nuts. Like I was just kind of like, no, don't
Oh
do
yeah,
that to
that
him.
was actually one of the coolest scenes that I read in Absolute Carnage was when I think they were already out of the prison and they were into the city, and Venom I think runs into the Scorpion and Miles Morales fighting like a horde of like
Yeah,
Carnage symbiotes, and I think Miles and Scorpion might have been fighting before they came out and stuff. So obviously they had to team up, or else they were going to get possessed. And it's kind of like every man from themselves when they were fighting. So like, you know, if one person was getting attacked, you didn't care. Like, oh, you're not going to survive this anyway.
yeah.
And then Scorpion gets gets tackled down to the floor, and Venom goes to save him, and it leaves Miles Morales in the background, just like being attacked by a horde
Just
of
completely overrun.
yeah. And you know, like Spider-Man being Miles Morales, Spider-Man, he thinks, you know, he could do it, like he could do this. He was beating a handful of them all on his own. And there's this one sequence or this one panel where it's super awesome, where it just shows them, it shows like the whole time it's raining too, like thunderous rain, and it's raining down, and you see Spider-Man doing like a kind of like a dragon fist, because he has like some kind of
The
ability or
Venom.
power on his punch.
It's called
And
Venom or Venom Punch.
like a Venom blast or something.
Yeah,
And he does like an uppercut, and it's him saying like, because I'm Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, that's freaking awesome. And I
yeah.
flip the page, and he gets overwhelmed and like he can't handle it. I'm like, oh man.
Just when you thought he was safe.
Yeah, I thought, I'm like, oh shoot, he could really do this. And then like I turned the page, I'm like, no, he can't. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's over.
You're
Like
done.
no one can save him. And that's what I loved about this whole event, is because you think it's gonna be like very straightforward, like good guys are gonna win, they're gonna survive this, and some of the scenes just, nope.
Yeah, no, it definitely like, and not just in Absolute Carnage, just even tying it into parts of Venom and
Yeah,
into King and Black. Like the
yeah,
good guys are definitely at a huge disadvantage here.
yeah, they're definitely struggling.
Yeah, like so with that, my other part that really stood out in the Absolute Carnage was when they dig up, or sorry, when they discover that like mass grave had been dug up. Do you
Yeah,
remember that part?
I do. Yeah,
And Eddie Brock's just like freaking out because that's where his wife was, right? Or he believes that his wife was there
yeah,
because, so I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. Carnage, he, as he's going and he's getting the codexes and he's ripping the spines out of these people, he amasses a large body count and he
hmm,
pretty much just dumps them in a shallow grave.
yeah,
And the shallow grave's discovered, and all Eddie can think of is like Anne has to be there, you know?
yeah,
And he's like freaking out. And if I'm not mistaken, she actually wasn't there, right? Like they never
yeah,
actually found her.
yeah,
So that was kind of like a little like light at the end of the tunnel, I guess, for him, is
yeah,
that like
yeah,
his wife's body hadn't been disturbed.
yeah,
But yeah, but just to see him like freak out, and the guy cares about so little, and so to see him kind of take that on was, it was really emotional. It was really really hard to like read and like see him kind of like losing it over that.
yeah,
But those are the two things that I think stood out to me the most in Absolute Carnage. One, seeing my favorite character get overrun, and then just seeing like an emotional side of Eddie Brock. You
yeah,
know,
definitely.
like just continuing, I guess, because in this he already he still thinks Dylan's his brother, I believe, right?
Yeah,
He doesn't discover it's his son until when did I say? It was a little bit later. I know that. But
hmm,
yeah, so those two parts stood out to me. And then just, well, I guess the Norman Osborn, like I mentioned a minute ago, just
right, right.
how sinister he looks and his
Yeah,
whole demeanor.
the fact that Venom and Spider-Man were like very hesitant to actually release him, because he's, like just as a big threat than compared to Carnage. So
Yeah, the
but I
guy's,
think, oh, go ahead.
I was just say the guy's out of his mind. That's all.
Yeah, isn't he because I didn't read too much of Nick Spencer's Spider-Man, but I believe he was the Red Goblin, right?
I didn't finish, or I haven't even jumped to the beginning of it because I can't find some of those early issues.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Yeah, I don't know too much about the Red Goblin, but I think that's who the Red Goblin is, which is
yeah,
Norman
most
Osborn.
likely,
Yeah.
which would
Uh,
explain the connection here.
yeah. And then just jumping towards the end of Absolute Carnage, this is definitely a big spoiler. So if you guys don't want to find out what happens at the end of Absolute Carnage, just tune out. But if you're interested and want to find out, so you could just get ready to read King and Black, I'll definitely go over this. So eventually, Carnage does have his way and collects enough codexes and turns him into kind of like a Venom god. And he gets, he pretty much transforms into a symbiote, like dragon god kind of. And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'll show a small glimpse of how he looks like. And it's the shoot, I don't want to mess this up, but it's this page right here. It shows him with dragon wings and very skull-like, and he becomes a dragon god. So he goes through and has this new power and is fighting the good guys and stuff. And you see all the good guys like trying to team up and fight against everyone. And later on, something triggers in Dylan that he didn't know he possessed, and that is to it's kind of like I don't know if it's a psychic power that he has, or like kind of like an anti-venom type of ability, and he just uses these psychic powers to rip up Carnage right here, all bloody and ripped apart. And then Dylan passes out because he didn't know what the hell he was doing. Something just triggered in his ability, and used up all his strength. And heading towards the end of Absolute Carnage, since Carnage was able to relinquish enough codexes to release Null, that's exactly what happens. So this page is one of the most epic pages that I've ever seen, and it shows Null breaking through and splitting apart the Clintar, and going into the next page. Shows here, where is it? Oh, this one. So it shows him finally free.
Oh, yes.
And now he is on his way to planet Earth.
I love that picture.
Yeah.
Of him writing on it on the Grendel dragon.
Yeah, and the text that just says right in the middle is "God help us all." I'm like, oh my god, that's an intense way to end it. That was
I like how you're showing, and you're like maybe halfway through the book, or through the through the Omni. No, like through the Omni, and it's like the end of Absolute Carnage, because there's that much in terms of tie-ins.
Yeah, they do, which is great. But that ending to Absolute Carnage is just a perfect read just before getting into King in Black.
I loved it because it was just like, it was nonstop action. It was just constantly it was like a constant downfall. Like nobody was ever getting ahead. Nobody like there was no hope. It was just a couple guys or heroes, anti-heroes, just trying to stop this thing, and it was just hopeless from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, they did get help, but even the extra help wasn't good enough.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That nothing did was able to save them until the end, and it was, I don't want to call it a fluke, but had Dylan not been there, who knows what would have happened. Had nobody gone, or had he not gone to go get Dylan, where would everybody be right now?
Yeah,
it was very happenstance. I guess that's what I'm looking for. That Dylan was there.
Yeah, and honestly, the Absolute Carnage was another really easy read. It was only 5 issues, so like Joe said, it was very action packed. So it was very fast paced, but also strongly story driven at the same time. So I thought that was really great, and it's that's definitely something that's hard to do, to make something very interesting and story driven, but at the same time fast paced and action packed.
So. And that is all that part aside. I think of all the Venom, all the King in Black, and everything. This had my favorite art.
Oh yeah,
and it was all Ryan Stegman.
Yeah, Ryan Stegman definitely killed it with Absolute Carnage and the Venom run. Definitely
like the way he draws everything in here, like the imagery and stuff he uses. Like, I think it looks better than anything he's done in terms of like even compared to like all the Venom stuff and all the King in Black. I actually like the way it looks better in here.
In Absolute Carnage, yeah, me too.
I think definitely had my favorite art that he's done.
And I think I definitely have to give some credit to the colors that were done on Absolute Carnage. It was really good, and that's done by Frank Martin. He made the entire Absolute Carnage run just dark and gritty, but at the same time really make the artwork pop out when it comes to Carnage's colors and Venom's colors and even Spider-Man's. So I thought that was really cool.
I guess that's what I should say. I should be crediting Martin for taking Stegman's work and just highlighting it the way he does and just kind of showing it off. And I don't know, I like the art in this better than I like in anything else Stegman's done.
I'd have to agree on that.
And I guess it had to do with Martin. I should probably credit the
Yeah.
right people. But no, it just, to me, like everything in like these pages, just the visual side of it looks
Yeah.
way better to me than anything else. Like it's amazing. And I swear, like if you take word bubbles out of anything, like almost any page in here could be like a poster.
Yeah.
Like it could just be this awesome poster that says like Absolute Carnage. And to me, like that goes a long way because I can't draw. Like I appreciate art so much because I have zero artistic talent. And so when I look at art, like I look at it as this thing that's just 100% unattainable to me, like talent wise. I've tried and I can't do it. And so when I appreciate art, like I really, really appreciate it. And that's why I think I love Absolute Carnage so much as well. It's just, it
Yeah.
stands above everything else for me.
Yeah. It was great. I guess since we're done with that, did you have anything else to say about Absolute Carnage?
Read it.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Read it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's been a few
Um,
months since I've touched it, so I couldn't remember everything. I had to like thumb through it real quick to,
oh yeah, it's been a while for me too.
yeah,
I think it was maybe in November that I read it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had to, oh, excuse me. Oh, I don't normally yawn when we're doing this, but that got me. What was I saying? Yeah, I had to thumb through it to kind of like jog my memory a bit, and I started remembering things, and it's dark. It's good.
Yeah. So the next story series or comic book series that we'll go over is Silver Surfer Black, and like we said, we'll be very short with this because we definitely want to have a podcast issue strictly just for Silver Surfer Black because of how awesome it was. Um,
And on
I
top of
think,
that,
yeah.
I would just want to read it again before I start trying to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's been a while again, and
Yeah.
oh man, I just remember it's a trip. It's a trip to read. Like not just the image is psychedelic, but the way the story flows goes with the art so much.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. But anyway, go ahead and introduce it the way you're going to.
Sure. Yeah, so when I picked up and read this, my friend was recommending this series to me so much. I think he told me at least twice. He's like, "You got to read Silver Surfer Black." I'm like, I wasn't really a huge fan of Silver Surfer. He was cool. I'd watch his animated series, cartoon back in the '90s too, and read him in different Marvel stories, but never his own title. So when I found out that Donny Cates was writing it too, and Trad Moore doing the artwork, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put this on the top of my list and get to reading it. And when I did,
You just like
within the
froze
story.
for a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no,
Which
it's
part?
okay.
Okay, so when I started reading this, I got a little bit lost because I'm not sure what time period this was starting and where the story was going even, and what other stories it was referencing. And when I read through it, man, I was blown away so much that I had to literally go back to the beginning of issue one and reread it. I read the trade paperback, so this collects all 5 issues. So I just read everything again. And my second read through, literally right after after my first read through, I was able to connect things and figure out things that was happening that I didn't realize in the first read through. So I think from what I remember, this takes place possibly after the Guardians of the Galaxy run that Donny Cates did. I still haven't read that series, but I did pick the series up recently so I could read it and see if it possibly ties into the Silver Surfer Black series. So he basically gets sucked into a black hole and kind of like he loses and gains his identity in some of the issues and just goes through these like psychedelic wormholes and pretty much breaks his mind, body, and spirit, and kind of like I want to like reimagines himself, but also goes on this adventure where he has to battle the darkness or whatever, or he sees the god of the abyss, which is Null, and surprisingly he does fight him in the story. Eon's back. I'm not even sure if this happens like before the Infinity Gauntlet or not, or after it, but he goes through these trials and teams up with the planet Ego to attain what he needs in order to fight this god of darkness and whatnot. um but just to cut things short, because like I said, I want to save the good stuff for another issue. But he basically was able to fight Null, and he was one of the only ones to make the dark god bleed with his light power. And it's insane like how much the Silver Surfer's power he had to fight this god off. So from what he said, when he was fighting him, it's not necessarily him beating him. It's more of a sense of balancing. So like for now, the light outweighs the darkness. He wins this time until the next time. And fast forward, that's when we get into the King in Black series.
This King in Black series was one of the hardest like things to wait for.
Oh yeah, it was one of the hardest things to wait for, but one of the most exciting things to read, because because the last like big event that I was excited to read like this was Maximum Carnage, or even around the time when Infinity Gauntlet was coming out.
Yeah. So the King in Black is pretty much Null is finally here.
Oh wait, did you want to talk anything about Silver Surfer Black, or?
Just all I have to say is Galactus.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah. That was one of my
anyone who's read
we'll
it will know what
that.
I mean. Anyone who reads it will appreciate what I said.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna add to that until we have our full conversation about it.
Yeah.
Galactus. So King in Black. Are we there yet? Is that what we're?
I think so. That's let's get into it.
So, in short, Null is here, and as it said in issue 1 from Eddie Brock.
Before you continue, let's kind of like do a non-spoiler overview of the whole King in Black event, and then for those of you listening that are kind of interested to hear what the premise is about the King in Black event and how it was, we'll go over that shortly with you, and then we'll let you know when we go into spoiler territory, where we talk about in detail of what we thought about the King in Black. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. So I was just gonna say, as Eddie Brock puts it, this is all hands on deck. Because in the past, as we've described, this isn't so much a spoiler if you've been listening to this point. Eddie Brock knows what he's up against, and if I'm not mistaken, by this point, nobody knows how bad this is because he chose to not tell anyone. And like I think people have an idea, and people know a little here and there, but nobody knows to what extent this really is. And it was selfish reasons
until last minute anyway.
Yeah, and it was all selfish reasons from Eddie.
Yeah, like he didn't want to put this upon anyone but himself, because he feels like he's the one responsible.
Well, there's you don't want to get into spoilers, so I won't say it yet.
Yeah,
but I'll touch on that in a little bit. So oh, what did I just do? I think I just brought something up on my screen. Okay, so yeah, all hands on deck, everybody's here, and as we've said, there's no hope prior to this, and things are even more bleak by this point. And without spoiling too much, I'm trying to think of a good way to kind of give a basic premise. This isn't so much a spoiler, I guess, if you already kind of
Mhm.
understand the concept of Null is that he's the god of the darkness. Uh, he enshrouds Earth in pretty much complete darkness, and that's like his way of like flexing, just like pretty much telling the heroes, I've already won. That's it. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, do you agree? Like, that's
Um,
kind of what he brings to the table or not, like kind of what he presents at the beginning, or relatively
yeah,
early.
yeah, relatively early. I guess from my standpoint, if you guys want to short and quick overview of the whole King in Black event, it's basically Null on his way to planet Earth to um, pretty much attack it, destroy it. We don't know what he's gonna do, and all we know is that the heroes that planet Earth has is not enough from what Venom is saying, and if they're not enough, then they got to prepare as much as they can in order to stop this super villain that Venom keeps on riling about. And and just going into some of the stuff, the writing was really super fun. It's like I said, it's like one of those AAA box office type of movies events, but in a comic book format. So a lot of fun reading, a lot of action, over the top stuff, kind of like what you would expect in a Marvel event. So not too much in depth like character creating and whatnot, but the way Donny Cates does it, it feels like he does in a short amount of time, but just everything that you would ever want in a big Marvel event where it has lots of different characters coming together and fighting and defending and stuff like that. And the artwork was really well done as well, I believe. There's a lot of shock factors and impact of different appearances and stuff, and how they interact with the supervillains. I thought that was really well done as well. And I think the pacing was well done. It was very fast paced. Every time I
Yeah.
would read an issue, I'm like, no, like I already finished. Like now I gotta wait like another
Yeah.
few weeks before the next issue comes out.
And they
And
didn't, sorry, they didn't
mhm.
feel short, but you're
No, they
just so
didn't.
sucked in. You
Yeah.
read it, and next thing you know, it's over. But when you look, like every
Mhm.
issue was a pretty good size. It wasn't
Yeah.
one of those like really thin, you're just like, where's the rest of the content in this? Like it wasn't one of those
Right.
like, they were thick books, for
Yeah.
4.99 or 5.99, whatever they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a good chunk of story in each one, but like you just blitz through it because you don't want to
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah, I know. I feel like every issue was worth the $5 that you spent on each issue.
Yeah,
And
but
I think for me the length of the story was, I don't know, maybe a little too short for me, but that's why they have the tie-ins and some of the Venom issues that you should be reading in order to link it up with the main event. For me, I felt like it should have been like maybe 7 or 8 issues at least.
I feel
um
like 10 could have made it feel
Complete.
no, like, yeah, maybe like complete, but I kind of feel like it could have also been overdone.
Mhm.
Maybe if he made some of those Venom issues, specifically, I think it was 33,
Yeah.
we agreed, felt like a main event.
Yeah.
Maybe if he used a couple of the Venom issues and just called them King and Black.
Yeah.
Because realistically, the way some of those jump from like moment to moment,
Yeah,
if you
it's
were
like
to
right
like
after each issue.
if you were to pull out a couple like random pages and tell somebody like, hey, like you've read the story, read this. Is
Mhm.
it from King and Black or is it from Venom? You wouldn't know
Yeah,
because they
I
like
agree with that.
it's literally the exact same story in Venom at this point. Like,
Yeah.
Eddie Brock's not off doing something. Well, sort of actually. Oh no, 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 no. Venom Island takes place right before this. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, he was off doing Venom Island, but that takes place right before everything hits the fan. So
Yeah, I think right before everything hits the fan, I think it's Venom Beyond is what
I'm
is
sorry,
the last
yes.
last story arc.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that aside, so I know we're talking about specifically King in Black now, but one thing I want to bring up before, because
Mhm,
I know we're going to talk about no, maybe not each individual issue, but
mhm.
the 5 issues.
Yeah.
We've talked about the build up, so I think this might be an appropriate time to bring up all the stupid spin-offs and ins and specifically let's dedicate the next hour to just the 5 namer issues.
Oh yeah, totally. Those
Yeah,
were amazing.
yeah. For anyone listening, we're really not going to do that. So I know you're like reaching for like the pause button, or you're about to just turn off whatever. Yeah, we're kidding.
Just an
So
ongoing joke that we've had since King and Black started.
yeah, since namer number one. So there is some good, some bad, some boring, some decent tie-ins here. But for anyone wondering, with the tie-ins, like, should you read them? Are they important? No, honestly. I can't think of any that like I read and I was just like, damn, this is like required reading. Most of it was just this hero is teaming up with this hero and maybe like another one or two,
Yeah.
who kind of just jumps in and they're just fighting a dragon.
Yeah,
That's
and most
literally all it was.
yeah, and most of the tie-ins that had some kind of explanation was just basically how this whole event is impacting the whole Marvel universe and all the
Yeah,
other characters that are around it. So if you guys, are reading, let's say for example, Daredevil, and you're reading the main series, and then all of a sudden there's this big event that's happening, it's kind of cool that they took into consideration that during this time, at the same time that other stories are being written, they're also being affected in the story, in
yeah.
the storyline. So I thought that was really cool.
It
But
it was definitely neat to just see, but they weren't like required reading. They weren't
no, not for the
necessary.
main event.
Yeah. There were some really good ones though. That's to say,
Mhm.
like, I'm not saying don't read it. I've mentioned in my weekly pull videos that like I really enjoyed the Thunderbolts. Really
Yeah,
fun, just lightly comical reads.
yeah,
Quick fun reads. Definitely worth grabbing. I wouldn't necessarily say rush out and go buy them, but
yeah,
if you're looking for some back issues to read, maybe dig into a dollar bin
yeah.
and you find them, grab them.
Yeah.
Definitely grab them if you find them there.
I think the closest ones that I feel like were impacted, or that were close to not required reading, but definitely recommended, would be the Black Cat issues. I felt like
Yeah,
those two issues were, I think it was two or three
three.
that okay. I felt like those three issues had a more connected tie-in to the King and Black series
Yeah.
than almost any other tie-in.
Uh, Side note to that, I don't know if this was the plan from the beginning, but I guess the Black Cat is continuing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I don't know if it was just like green lit because the fans liked it so much,
Yeah.
but I noticed Black Cat number 4 didn't even have the King and Black logo anymore. It was
Yeah, it's
only
just
mentioned as like a three
mhm.
issue run. So that was kind of cool. Anyone
Yeah,
who's interested, it was fun. I really enjoyed the Black Cat, the three
yeah,
of them. I haven't read number 4 yet. It's out. I own it. I just haven't jumped into it, but it was fun. It was
yeah.
entertaining. And like you said, probably one of the closest to being not important, but just
Mm.
touching on a little more of the story outside of, oh, now we're just fighting a dragon,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
that's all any of them were. It was just
yeah,
how did this hero like Spider-Woman fight this dragon over here, and how did uh who else was it, like Miles Morales fight this dragon here.
yeah. I think another one that was definitely good read, that like you said, just doesn't talk about fighting another dragon, is was Black Panther. I believe
Yeah.
that issue had a huge impact into the story.
One that
Well, not huge impact into the story, but like something big happened in that issue that, like, I'm like, oh crap, like this is possible.
yeah, one thing too that thank you, I didn't like was the whole Captain America issue.
I didn't get a chance to read that one.
So I won't spoil it for you. I'll let you read it, but it feels like, and you'll understand this because you've already finished King in Black 5.
Yeah.
Uh, it's like he's having almost like a crisis like within himself, and
Mhm.
they're fighting, and he's trying to like process all this information, like an internal
Yeah.
struggle kind of with
Yeah.
himself. And obviously, this isn't a spoiler if you've ever read a comic book. He solves this internal struggle, and it makes you think that there's more to this, that like it's super important, but like by the time you get to the end of King in Black, like it really like it didn't make a difference. Like he had nothing to do
Yeah.
with the resolution of this.
Yeah, there was some tie-ins that just, yeah, that made you feel that way. Because I think another one that I felt like was gonna make some kind of impact towards the end was Guardians of the Galaxy, with
Yeah,
specifically Star-Lord and how he calls himself um uh the Master of the Sun or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know what? I didn't even remember that, but yeah,
Mhm.
they definitely made it seem like the Guardians was gonna be a little bit more important.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was kind of bummed on that Captain America. Like it was very well written, and like I
Yeah.
said, that internal struggle, like with him and the symbiote like talking to him, or because like Noel's talking to everybody,
Yeah.
and like that whole thing, like it was good. Like I enjoyed it, but it leads you to believe that there's going to be more,
Yeah.
or that, and not like Captain America number two, Captain America number three, but like he is going to be involved more. Like he is going to have a much more important role going forward, and
Yeah.
he doesn't like at
Yeah.
all. Like you get what I'm saying, right? Like it
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
yeah. So
that a lot of the times seem to end up ending that way
yeah.
after reading issue 5. So but yeah, like did you have any other thoughts or opinions and the overall story, non-spoiler?
Related to the story itself or tie-ins or both?
Both.
Um, oh, we didn't mention the symbiote Spider-Man.
Yeah, I felt like I didn't need to.
Oh man, just straight up, just blunt. Yeah, I didn't feel like I needed to.
Yeah.
Well,
I
for
mean,
anyone who hasn't touched it, or isn't familiar, it's a prequel, pretty much. It's like it's the beginning, sort of, and same with Namor. It's like before all this happens. Planet of the Symbiotes is kind of a what's it called? It was fun. I enjoyed Planet of the Symbiotes actually, but it was just another like set of side stories that were really fun to read.
yeah.
So if I had to recommend anything that's like related but not related, is Planet and Thunderbolts. But avoid
And
Namor.
Thunderbolts.
Avoid Namor. Avoid. I hate to say it, but avoid the Spider-Man.
No symbiote
Like,
Spider-Man.
yeah, that's what I'm sorry. That's what I'm talking about. The symbiote Spider-Man. Avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like he was gonna play a bigger role, and he kind of did with the whole like setting up for the Black Knight, and I thought the Black Knight was gonna be super cool to get into,
Oh, I forgot about that
and
issue.
man, it was just for me it was just a letdown. I mean, it was still fun reading, but it just, I didn't want to continue reading it.
Yeah. Oh, another Return of the Valkyries. I was
Yeah.
hoping it was going to be really good,
Yeah.
and it was okay at best, kind of boring at times. But I'll tell
Yeah.
you right now, of all the spin-offs and tie-ins and stuff, I feel like that had some of the best art and some of the best covers.
Yeah, it did.
There was some really good covers, like some variants and stuff from that series.
Yeah.
And I believe that's actually spawning its own series called, oh man, I can't remember, something about the Valkyries, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, but the Black Knight was bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So avoid the Black Knight.
Yeah. If you guys were
uh,
looking for something fun to read for the event, definitely read, like you said, Thunderbolt, and also Deadpool. Deadpool was really fun.
oh, Deadpool was great. Deadpool,
Yeah.
do not take that serious, obviously,
Yeah.
but it was funny, like it was comical from the minute it starts. You
Yeah.
know, Marauders, I read the first one. That one
Mhm.
was good. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that. I didn't read Sword. Did you?
I actually did, and you know what? I was very interested to see how Sword takes into play. So I ended up buying the first issue before, because the King of Black Titan starts off with Sword
Number
issue
two.
2. Yeah, which is weird because it doesn't have the King in Black like corner logo for it. So I decided to jump on it because for those of you that don't know, Sword is kind of like Shield, but they're in charge of like any I think alien or like space threats. So they're in charge of defending planet Earth against like uh planetary or interdimensional like threats and stuff like that, whereas Shield, it's more on the ground level.
So Invincible's dad.
Yep.
um, yeah. So I didn't read Sword, but you said it was good, or
I liked it. I don't think a lot of people really liked it, but from what I've read, it was enjoyable for me, enough for me to continue collecting it.
okay.
Yeah.
Hmm, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's more of
Okay.
like a 50-50. You either like it or you don't like it.
If
So
you try to detach yourself from it, I'm sorry, from the King in Black, is it better?
yeah, I would say so.
Like if you try to read it as its own like separate story and has nothing to do with King
Yeah.
in Black. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that actually didn't get put into my poll. I don't know why. I
Oh wow.
was very specific, but maybe because it wasn't tagged as King in Black.
Yeah. You know what? Like I think a lot of other comic shops were getting very confused on like what the King and Black tie-ins were and what weren't. And on top of that, like some of the tie-ins were getting released late too. So
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why, some stores would miss out on it and stuff. And even me, I would get, like tie-ins here and there, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know this was gonna be a tie-in. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't have the King and Black logo, but it's on the list or something. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shoot.
Uh, what was there was another one that was tie-in that was another ongoing series.
Daredevil.
No, it wasn't Daredevil. I think it was like a
Uh,
new
oh,
series.
it was Venom versus Carnage.
Oh, oh, that one. That's not what I was talking about, but that was really good. I didn't like the
Yeah,
ending so much.
yeah, I mean neither. I like
Uh,
the beginning. The beginning was really
yeah, the
good.
first two issues were really good.
Yeah.
And so the guy at the place I go to in Whittier, I don't want to say any names because I don't want to sound like I'm calling anybody out, but he was telling me of someone he met,
Uh-huh.
uh, claimed that this was the best Carnage to date.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that
walk
look
out right
okay.
now.
For okay, someday we're hoping
Wow.
that these issues are going to be posted on Spotify, right?
Yeah.
If you're listening to it in the future on Spotify, go back and watch this YouTube video to that moment and look at Chris's face when I said that.
Yeah. Wow. He
Yeah,
obviously has not read enough Carnage.
it makes me think he's not read any Carnage. And don't get me wrong, Mary Jane as Carnage is awesome. Like it was cool,
Yeah,
but
I did
it's
not
like,
expect that.
yeah, exactly. And she looked cool. Like the art was awesome.
Yeah.
Really big fan of the way they did it. But like, did he not read? I don't know, Maximum Carnage,
Yeah.
Absolute Carnage.
The first
Uh,
appearance of Carnage. I
yeah.
don't know.
Did he not read?
Absolute Carnage. Did you say that?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? The Venom Island with Carnage.
Yeah.
Like, like what?
Yeah.
Like, to say it's the best Carnage, right? So
Yeah.
he told me this like weeks back, and then a couple nights ago, or a couple days ago, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
was talking to him, and we were talking about King in Black,
Hmm.
and this is not the guy who said that, the guy who was telling me the story.
Yeah.
He was telling me how one of his customers was like, I don't get Null, like he's kind of a boring villain, like he just kind of like sits there and doesn't really do anything. And like I started laughing because I'm like, I understand what he means,
Yeah.
But if like that's only if you're not really paying attention because
Yeah, if anything, he's doing everything. Look.
exactly,
Oh my
exactly.
god.
But if you're like looking at it on the surface, like yeah, like
Yeah.
Noel isn't like quote unquote doing anything, but like you're not you're not absorbing what you're reading because if you are like you
Yeah.
realize that yeah he may just be kind of like sitting there and like projecting himself through these people but like
Yeah.
he's the reason all of this is happening. He's
Yeah.
so powerful, he's everywhere at once, he's everywhere and everything, you
Yeah.
know, and he even states that like more or less like that message several times. And so I
Yeah.
started laughing
Yeah.
and I was like, well, you know, this is also or Mary Jane was also the best Carnage, right? And he starts the guy starts laughing and he goes,
Yeah.
that was the same guy who said that.
God.
So it turned out the guy who thinks Null is a boring villain and
Yeah.
Mary
Yeah.
Jane is the best Carnage was the same person.
Oh God. Which is kind of well, not funny because everyone's entitled to their own
Well,
opinions
okay,
and stuff.
and here's where I want to like add on to that. Mary Jane can be your favorite Carnage,
Yeah.
but no one can say she is the best. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah.
like your personal opinion, like there's bands, you know, my whole life I've always been big into music. We've
Yeah.
talked music, you know, for hours, like hundreds of hours, I'm sure,
Yeah.
thousands of hours.
Hmm.
There's albums that I think are like to me the best albums, like
Right. Right.
from a band, like that to me, like me personally, nothing could
Hmm.
ever touch this.
Yeah.
But I can look at it objectively and think, but this is their best album. Like this
Yeah.
is where like they really made their mark. This is the one that like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I kind of just attribute like that to like Mary Jane. Like yeah,
Yeah.
like it was awesome seeing it. Like you know, I love that she became Carnage, and I love
Yeah.
that you know they gave her a chance to you know become a symbiote and stuff. And I thought it was a cool concept.
Yeah.
And I can see why people would look at this and be like, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
But to use the words like, that's the best, like, no, I think we can all agree Cletus Cassidy is the best.
Oh yeah.
You know, and whichever version of Cletus Cassidy you like, whether it be, you know, maximum or absolute,
Yeah.
you know, that's all up for opinion too. But
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I
But
don't,
man.
and I guess, I don't know, in the end, I guess that is still just opinion. But I know you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
not enough material out there
Like
to
he's
really
like
say
he's
she's the best.
like he's stating it, but then where's your backup?
Yeah, like
where's
I
your
said,
where's your proof?
yeah, we need that proof.
Yeah.
Like there's not enough material out there with Mary Jane as Carnage to really like solidify that.
Yeah.
You know, and plus like she got beat out by like some loud drums.
Yeah.
Like what? Like
Yeah.
what? Like no. Like she can't be the best.
Yeah.
Anyway, that aside, those three issues are awesome. Loved them.
Yeah, they were still
Uh,
fun to read.
yeah, I really love the character Gwenom. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So her describing the spiders crawling over her body though kind of grossed me out.
Oh, I know, right? Just
Yeah,
the
but
just the idea of that.
yeah, that aside, I love those issues. But
Yeah.
no, there was another. Let me see if I can find it. There was
Oh,
another.
was it Savage Avengers?
Oh no, that was a fun read.
Yeah,
Um,
that was fun too.
I mean, like Conan with the Avengers, like
Yeah.
can't.
The other one was the Union.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. The Union. I
Yeah.
never read the Union. That was not
Yeah.
added to my pool. And once I realized it, I just let it go. I just kind of ignored it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely something you could skip.
so you read it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it
It was
worth like
it was okay.
going
It was like
back?
it was kind of like a one and done type of read.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, there's only one issue.
No, it was I think there was at least three or maybe
Oh, I'm
even
sorry. You
four.
mean read them all once and just never look at them
Yeah,
again?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like
Yeah.
Namer.
Yeah. But at least it wasn't as like at least there was like symbiote dragons in in the Union. Like Namor, like it was just like Namor like doing kind of like a flashback and talking about the Black Tide the whole time and just not really
Being good.
tying into the King in Black. Like that's the whole
Yeah.
that's the whole premise. And
Um,
it I felt like it didn't do that. So
excuse me, I may have mentioned this before, and I don't remember if I did, but I think you and I, if I didn't mention it on a podcast
yeah.
issue, I think I may have mentioned it to you like on a phone call or in, I don't know. If I'm not mistaken, Namor was one of the ones that was actually supposed to be an Empire tie-in,
Mhm.
and it's no surprise that Empire was axed
Yeah.
and it was cut. I believe it was completely cut short. I think the 5 main issues finished and a bunch of the tie-ins,
Yeah.
but between its delays and it just not being that good,
Yeah.
they cut some stuff and they rebranded it as King in Black. And I want to say Namor, the Union, and something else was rebranded as.
Was it Atlantis Attacks or something?
I don't know, honestly. I don't
Ah.
remember. But yeah, there was like a couple things that were relabeled as King in Black, and like that kind of
Oh, okay.
sucks
Yeah.
that they just slapped the King in Black logo on this, just like
Just
because
to sell issues.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like, I might have bought the Namor issues if they weren't tied to King in Black, or if
Yeah.
they didn't have that King in Black logo and just treated it as maybe like Venom
Yeah.
and what's it called, like Absolute Carnage and stuff, where it was kind of just like a precursor to it. I may have
Yeah.
bought it and just like maybe I would have been able to appreciate it then and been like, I'm not expecting the King in Black, I'm not you know what I mean, I'm not expecting like the level of like quality and the level of like excitement from these King in Black issues. I mean, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
these Namer issues, because I don't have the King in Black logo on them,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I feel like that was kind of a bad decision on Marvel's part, if that is actually the case with Namor. And even if that wasn't the case, they should have just never called them King in Black. They should have
Yeah.
just treated it as like, hey, this is like a short like prequel run that will kind of give you some insight to the world, but not call it King in Black.
Yeah.
I might have
Yeah. I
cared a
agree
little
with
more
that.
then, and I might not like roast it the way I do. And I only roast it the way I do because it says King in Black, and
Yeah.
it's not King in Black.
Yeah. Not really. Not at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you don't have anything else to say about the non-spoiler part about our
Okay.
King in Black event, we'll go ahead and dive in. So it's we're kind of short on
Oh
time.
wow. Yeah, we've hit kind of late. So I guess we'll keep this not short, obviously, but we won't draw this out for 2 hours.
Well, no, it's gonna hit 2 hours.
No, I
So
mean 2 additional
maybe
hours.
oh Jesus. So like three
Yeah.
hours total.
Yes.
I'm
Three and
breaking
a
new
half
record.
hours.
Yeah.
Uh, so are we talking spoilers now?
Yeah, if you don't have anything else to say or to sell the King in Black event for people that haven't read it.
Nope. Stay away from Namer. That's it.
Yeah, I guess for me, like I said, if this has got to be one of the best events that I've ever read, but that's being kind of partial because I love Venom and like just a big Marvel event like tying into just one main character is amazing, especially one of my favorite characters growing up. So if you guys do love Venom, or if you're looking for something big event like that Marvel's putting out, that like if you guys are just watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe and you're itching to experience something huge that Marvel's putting out, definitely check out King in Black. It's an event that you don't want to miss. So they are eventually putting out a trade paperback that collects all 5 issues. So if you want, you can wait for that. If you can't, for some reason, find the issues, I think most of it you can find it.
I feel
So
like main covers are
main
readily
covers, yeah,
available.
definitely.
And
Yeah,
speaking of main covers, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Issue number 5. I'm not a fan of that cover at all.
I'm not either. It's
Uh,
probably like one of the weakest, honestly.
as
Like they could have done better.
that was Stegman, correct? He
Yeah,
did the main cover for all of them.
yeah,
Uh, as much as I love his work and I love everything he's done for this, like I don't know, like I don't like that cover.
yeah.
It's
I've
kind of
I
cheesy.
mean, I could have like picked just panels that he did in the issue to make it
That
into
would
a
have been a
cover.
better cover, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And it's not to say that the art itself isn't done well.
Yeah.
It was just I think a poor choice for the cover.
Yeah, like my
Yeah.
favorite as it's probably got to be the first one, issue one.
Uh, that
Well,
one I pointed
besides the
out.
variants,
Yeah. Oh, if we're talking just main
just
covers,
main covers, yeah.
yeah, the first one, but
Mhm.
I guess it is still considered a variant, but the secret variant
Oh yeah, yeah, the secret.
where it's the exact same cover except Hulk is replaced with Thing.
Yeah,
I like that one. So
yeah, that
I
one's
still
cool too.
consider that the main cover. It's just like, a secret version of the main cover.
Yeah,
Cover AA, if you will. So,
yeah.
so, um yeah, no, I have nothing else to say about that. I just wanted to throw that out there about that cover.
All right, cool. If you guys made it this far, I appreciate your guys' attention span or willingness to listen to what we have to say in order to lead up to this huge event from Marvel. So thank you very much. And right now we'll go ahead and dive into spoiler territory. So just a heads up, if you guys don't want to, get this event spoiled for you, just tune out and go check this event out for yourself. So
And
let's go.
to clarify, are we also going to talk about big spoilers with Venom? Like, are those on the table?
Yeah,
Like, okay,
everything's on the table
okay,
now.
okay. I don't want to say anything if we're trying to keep it to just the 5 issues.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
uh, just uh, just to start, that final page of issue 5 hit me
Wait,
like a ton of bricks. I'm
we
jumping
should.
ahead.
I'm
Uh,
like, yeah, we should probably start off with issue one first
all right, I'll
before we
save
get
that.
there. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I guess I'll start it off with issue one. So, from my reading experience for issue one, man, I was blown away. I'm pretty sure you had the same impact just reading through it. The first couple pages, I expected like at least half the book to build up to what was going to happen.
it was
And
like 3 pages.
yeah, they like almost basically like I read the preview on a preview magazine and I'm like, man, I'm so hyped for this event. And then by the time I read the first issue, I think within the first 4 or 5 pages, they're already under attack. I'm like, oh crap, it's happening. It's happening already. They're under attack and they have to do their best to defend already. They like broke through Iron Man's defense and stuff. They I think Eddie Brock first did the call out like all through all the cell phones and communications,
Yeah.
and everyone's communicator beeped and like, oh shit, we're under attack. Like this is it's time already. We got to defend planet Earth.
Oh, so what I had mentioned earlier, because now we can talk about it with
Yeah,
spoilers, when this was all Eddie Brock's fault. And if memory serves correct, he had a choice to have Null come in, get what he wants, and leave, and Earth would have been safe, and it was Dylan that Null wanted, right? And he tells himself repeatedly, like, this is all my fault, but he did it because he wasn't going to let his only son be taken by Null. And so because of that, Null just decides he's going to ravage planet Earth. And that's exactly what he does.
yeah. In order to get his son,
Yeah,
still,
all to get
yeah. On
Dylan.
top
Because
of
he's
that, yeah,
like, if you're not going to hand him to me, I'm going to not just take him, but I'm going to kill everything and everyone.
he's gonna take everything.
Take everything.
Yeah,
So, or kill everything.
yeah.
He practically does. So if I'm not getting ahead of myself, I want to say it's like maybe halfway through the first issue where he just covers everything in black. And I don't mean like how I said he like covers like the earth itself in black and no lights coming in, but he actually covers all the people in all that like sludge, like symbiote, like goo, and including the Avengers. Right? That's the
Yeah,
first issue, right?
yeah, but kind of before we get to the whole encompassing of the planet and like all the heroes, they honestly, I think their response team or their basically response to Null attacking the planet was I thought it was really solid. They had like a plan A, B, C, and D. They have,
Yeah.
like ships and spaceships and whatnot, like uh killing a bunch of symbiote dragons on the way to planet Earth. They did this huge bomb that, like, destroyed, a decent amount,
Yeah.
and it still wasn't enough. You see one of the splash pages and shows a bunch of symbiote dragons just raining from the sky, and they're like, oh crap, like this is going to go to ground level. So they had the response team with Captain America and the Avengers and stuff, and Spider-Man and whatnot, defending the ground level. And then I think later on, when they get a little bit overwhelmed, they call in the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange, and eventually the X-Men as well. And you see Storm like going
Yes.
on top of one of the buildings and just wrecking havoc against all the dragons. It was really cool to see. The X-Men show up out of nowhere and team up with the Avengers, defending, the whole onslaught of symbiote dragons. I thought that was really cool. And until Joe said that, Null just starts encompassing everything. And I think it's the same issue where he brings on the Eternals, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not the Eternals.
I mean, not the Eternals, the Celestials.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're just like, are those Celestials? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Like
Like they don't
possessed
even
by
know how to
Null.
react. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there's like multiple moments where I've said something like this, but I think this is where them as like a team, you kind of see like there is no light at the end of the tunnel. All hope is gone at this point, and they're just like, we have to just fight. Like that's it. Like that's
They
it.
they
Like
had they had one hope still.
yes, you're
They
right. I'm sorry, and that was
the
Sentry.
Sentry. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. After Tony Stark's or Iron Man's defenses proved to be more or less ineffective,
Yeah.
it appeared to be very effective for about half a
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
and was quickly proven ineffective. Storm just pretty much just gets smacked out of the sky like nothing. Um, all that, whatever. So
Mhm.
they bring in Sentry, and everybody just is like hopeful, just like, oh, it's
Yeah, and
Sentry.
this is their I think one of their last tricks up their sleeve. They're like, all right, like we're bringing the badass
Yeah,
Sentry, which is for those of you that don't know who Sentry is like kind of like essentially like a Superman with I forget like exactly what kind of powers he has,
I don't know a
but
whole lot about Sentry, so I can't add
yeah,
on to that. I just
but I know
know. Oh, sorry, go on.
but I know he's like one of the most overpowered superheroes, and he that they like the team only uses them for emergencies like this. And do you want me to say it, or do you want to say it?
You can say it.
All right, so they bring him on, and he comes in through the sky, and he grabs Null, and they fly into the sky, and they're fighting, and Null just I forget what he says, but he just rips Sentry in half. And when he did that, I was like, my jaw dropped from reading it, and I'm like, oh crap! Like he just did that. Like I had to stop reading for for a little bit. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell? What the hell are they gonna do?
Yep.
There's no way they have like another backup plan for that. If like he was the most powerful superhero that they had
Like
up their sleeve.
they thought they may have had a chance without Sentry.
Yeah,
Uh, figured he was like, plan G in case everything else, didn't
yeah,
work out, and figured, well, we'll tap Sentry, if things get too out of hand, and he'll
yeah,
take care of it, kind of like, we don't want to have to do this, but we will.
yeah,
And literally, we just watched Sentry get murdered in like a panel
yeah,
and a half. It's just like he comes in, heads towards Null, and like you said, just Null just literally rips him in half, and like that's it.
yeah.
That's it for
Nullifies
some.
him.
Yeah, nullifies him. And so I guess now that's where literally just all hope is gone, and it's just got to fight. It's pretty much to me.
It's survival at that point.
Yes, that was the equivalent of watching Thanos get that final Infinity Stone,
Yeah.
where you're just like, oh, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
like there's nothing left to do.
Yeah.
Just hope for the best, but there is no hope.
Yeah.
And so
Did you
uh
want to talk about the last part of that issue?
is that the part with Eddie Brock falling? Yeah, so he Venom goes toe to toe with I shouldn't even say toe to toe because that would imply that Eddie Brock even slightly stood a
Yeah.
chance. He goes face to face with Null, only to realize he's very outmatched almost immediately, and
Yeah.
Null grabs him, picks him up, rips the symbiote from him, and just throw. Keep in mind they're up in the air, so
They're on
it's
top
not.
of one of the highest buildings in New York.
Yeah, like they're not on the ground level at this point. They're very
Yeah.
high up, and so Null grabs him, rips the symbiote, and just kind of throws him like a piece of trash. Like he just kind of like he doesn't slam him for max speed that he hits the floor. Like he just kind of just chucks him off. Like that's
Yeah,
it.
he
Like
almost just like lets him go. Kind of like
yeah,
if you guys ever watched Lion King and Scar is like
yeah,
grabbing onto Mufasa, he just like lets him go. Like that's it. I'm done with you.
yeah. Like he doesn't need to kill him. He doesn't need to show him how powerful he is. Like he's already proven it. He just ripped the symbiote from him
Yeah.
and
And
just
I think it's because he for a second he thought he had who he wanted already, but realized it's not him.
yeah,
And that's when he was like, "Oh no, you're not the person that I wanted." So he just let him go.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so Eddie Brock just falls to his death pretty much.
Yeah, so that last panel just shows Eddie Brock like mid air like falling down from the skyscraper, and you're wondering like, is he gonna survive? Like he has to survive.
Yeah, like there's like six more Venom issues and four more
Yeah,
King and Black issues.
yeah, exactly.
How's Venom dead? Before we actually continue, I just want to say my prediction of what happens with Venom was completely off. I don't know if you remember, I gave you my prediction a couple months ago about what I think happens to Venom.
Yeah,
And yeah, I was wrong. I was like, I couldn't have been any further off. I just thought like it would go in a direction we didn't expect. But
yeah.
I'll get into that.
I can't even remember what I was trying to predict
I'll get
for
into my
that.
prediction probably in a little bit. I just want
Yeah,
to throw that out there. So, yeah, so he pretty much falls to his death, and is that yeah, that's what causes him to end up in the hospital, correct?
yeah. I think
Yeah.
it kind of like shows that in issue, what was it, 30, 31 or 32
Yes,
for Venom.
that's right, because it's like he's falling through the blackness, and he's like, and I was
Yeah,
falling and falling, and he's kind of describing it. And then I think the next Venom issue, it continues that, right?
yeah,
So it's like King in Black 1.5 almost.
yeah.
And then he ends up uh
In the
in the
hospital.
hospital pretty much on life support.
Yeah.
And oh wait, no. I'm sorry, we missed something. When he attaches himself to the hive, that was in issue 1, wasn't it?
Mm,
When Eddie attaches himself to the hive.
no, because it leaves off of him falling from the sky or from the
No, I know.
skyscraper.
I think at the beginning of it, he attached, or was that in Venom when he attaches himself to the hive?
It's either Venom or I think it's Venom. That's when he attaches himself to the hive because he's falling through the blackness and he has to fight
Yeah.
his way through or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by that point is when he starts meeting up with all the other Avengers, right? In that
Not that specific issue, but the maybe the issue after it.
okay, I'm starting to like forget which order these things were in.
Yeah.
So He falls. He ends up in the hospital on life support.
Yeah, and
Uh,
then yeah, he basically is trying to fight his way through the darkness and kind of like does a lot of reflecting on his whole life in that issue. And then I guess jumping into um, King in Black issue 2 is when it kind of like fast paced, like fast forward, it actually shows Eddie Brock hit the buildings and the car eventually,
yeah.
and him in critical condition after that.
Okay. Then is that when he meets his wife?
He meets his wife. He meets his wife in Venom Beyond.
Okay. I'm mixing up. Man, I'm really mixing this stuff up right now just because I got to think about it. Okay,
Yeah,
so then I'm trying to remember what was the main pickup or like thing that picked up at number 2 or 2
for
and 3 then.
King in
Yeah,
Black.
for King in Black.
For King in Black issue 2, that's when Venom hits everything and falls to the floor, and all the other heroes start getting consumed,
Okay.
and I think that's when I think Spider-Man and a few other heroes like rescue Venom from the fall or whatever, and they have to retreat at this point.
Okay, yeah. And then I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. Then they're in the hospital.
Yeah,
Because prior to that, at the end of the first one, Spider-Man's still protecting Dylan,
yeah,
and Dylan's like trying to convince him to let him go out there, right?
yeah.
Okay. Oh, one thing we didn't actually mention earlier was I think part of the reason he wants Dylan is he knows that Dylan there's something special about him, and it's because none of the symbiotes can attach themselves to Dylan. When they try, they
Mm,
like freak out,
yeah,
remember? And that actually happens in Venom.
yeah, it's that, and also Null can't like completely break through to him.
Yeah.
Like
So
he's able to like block him out.
is that your dog?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just heard that. Yeah, okay. So he what was I saying? He tries to convince Peter to let him out, right?
Yeah.
Dylan
Well,
specifically.
he's like really wanting to help and really wanting to put his effort into helping everyone. And I think I can't remember too much exactly, but I don't know if that's when Peter Parker or Spider-Man has that conversation with him about like whether to do it or not.
Well, we're spoiling, so you can go ahead and say it.
Oh, I'm saying like I don't know if it's in that specific issue or if it's the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were like hinting at something, like you didn't want to actually outright say it.
Oh no, no. I mean I want to do it in order. That's why.
Okay, okay. What specifically, without giving too many spoilers, and I'll see if I remember what you're talking about. Like, what were you worried about spoiling?
Oh no, I'm
Or not
not worried about
spoiling, but
spoiling it, but
I mean, I'm
just
just like getting out of order with.
yeah, but what happens in issue 2? I don't know if you remember exactly what happens in issue 2 and 3.
I remember like a chunk of the story, but I don't remember
Yeah,
issue by issue.
I guess we could just pull it out and
Just
check it
flip
out.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, because it has been a while since because the first issue came out on December 2nd, and the last issue came out on April 7th. So
Yeah.
there's definitely some gap in between some of the issues. So this shows yeah, Spider-Man talking to Dylan, and Venom's in critical condition. And and I think this is also where uh Blade. I thought this was really cool, but in this issue, it shows Blade recruiting
The
Dracula.
Dracula. There we go.
Yeah, I
Yes.
thought that was
I
really
forgot about that
cool.
moment.
Yeah,
Okay. Because I remember this is where they're like things. Okay. It was all hands on deck at the start of the first issue, but this is where
yeah,
things are so bad that they
they're
now
getting
have to
really
like
desperate.
they have to tap everyone at this point because it's just like for you to continue to like hate me and want to like be a villain, we
Yeah,
have to make it out of this alive.
yeah,
Because
exactly.
Noel isn't sparing anyone. Noel isn't
No, he
trying to
isn't.
like recruit people to his army.
Yeah.
You know.
So I thought that was really cool. Blade is basically telling him like, this is your world too. So if you want to, have a world to live in it, like
There you go.
you
I
need
guess
to help us out.
yeah. In a sense, what I just said, like
And then
for you to
uh
continue to be.
yeah, and then same thing with the Kingpin. He hired as many bad guys as he can with his money to help out. And I think the Thunderbolts were one of the groups, right?
Yeah.
And then on this issue also is when Iron Man fights one of these.
Oh, the
Looks like
dragon, right?
yeah, the dragon, but it has
Grendel.
something to do with uh, the invention of Extremis, which I haven't read too much of, so I don't know. I don't know exactly what he's talking about, but he eventually uses or kind of like fuses with the dragon symbiote and makes it into his own like bio armor, so which was really cool.
Yeah. Okay, I remember
That was
that. That
there.
was awesome.
Yeah, and so they basically get back to the hospital, and and Venom's starting to struggle to survive. And I think let me see here. It shows one of the symbiotes trying to get hold of him, and Dylan's trying to protect him from that. So he does that psychic power attack again and obliterates the symbiote that was trying to attack Eddie. But basically, Eddie Brock tells Dylan that he's the secret weapon, and you need to save your friends and the world. I know it's like he says it's like a lot of responsibility, but you need to do this or whatever. And then the flat line.
Yes, that was heartbreaking to read or
Yeah,
to see.
yeah. It's just
Yeah.
you hear that flat line, and Dylan's just right there, like crying, like he's about to lose his dad. Like,
Like he only just met his dad and he's about to lose his dad.
yeah, yeah. I thought that was insane.
Yeah. Oh, there were so many good ups and downs, and I shouldn't even say ups. There so
There's
many
a lot of
downs and
downs. Yeah,
downs. Yeah.
yeah.
Just it's like everything just gets worse. You want to grab issue 3 and
Oh,
kind of
sure.
we'll just go one by one. That's issue
Yeah.
4. Oh, never mind. I thought you were having the other
No,
one.
it's just starting to fall.
Okay.
All right. So next up, going into issue three, King in Black. Um, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, that I thought that was kind of like a spoiler for me for a main cover. Like
Yeah.
it shows Thor in the main cover. I'm like, oh
Oh
great, like
yeah.
Thor's gonna show up. What a
Oh, the
spoiler.
spoiler cover for this one.
Yeah. So it starts in the first page. It shows like something heading towards planet Earth, and it shows Dylan crying because he just lost his dad.
Yeah, laying on
And
Eddie.
yeah,
Or
and
kind of
then
like
it
resting his head
shows
on him.
yeah, and then now it shows I think this is Susan, um Invisible Woman, and Blade, struggling to survive against the possessed uh like X-Men and some of the other heroes and whatnot. And so they continue defending. Let's see here. It shows Captain America possessed right here, about to fight Dylan, and he does his psychic attack and gets Null's attention and starts trying to attack Dylan. So he starts getting overwhelmed because Dylan can't save everyone, and all of a sudden Thor shows up. And I thought this panel was super cool, just seeing him in action, because for those of you who don't know, Donny Case is also writing a Thor storyline,
Yeah.
and he's off like doing something else. I'm not gonna say, but he was able to show up to join the fight, and it's basically Dylan and Thor teaming up to fight against Null right now in issue 3. So it shows them, throwing the hammer down, Dylan using his psychic powers and whatnot. and obviously it's still not enough. And I thought this was a brutal page right here where it shows Thor hammering down Mjolnir on the face of Null and breaking his jaw, like right there.
It's like after everything, like maybe you start to think there's a little bit of hope now that Thor showed up.
Yeah, and then at this point, Null finally pulls the Necro sword off him. I'm like, oh, you're gonna use that weapon against me? Then I'm gonna pull my weapon out. And he straight up stabs Thor right in the chest with the Necro sword.
That was a rough, really rough panel to look at.
Yeah, and then I thought this was really cool too. Iron Man swinging in with the symbiote dragon with his bio armor and stuff. Yeah, and it shows here like the Celestials finally joining the fight as well. So like Null has a ton of power within, and bam, at the end of the issue, it shows finally the Silver Surfer Black like joining the fight.
Yep. And again,
I thought that was really cool.
You still think there's hope. Sorry, you don't think there's hope. You've lost hope, but you're like,
Yeah,
you're trying to find hope in these guys showing up, but it just proves that like no one, like nobody is going to be able to do this. Like nobody's going to be able to handle
except for Silver Surfer Black.
No.
At least that's what I thought.
No.
Because that's what I was expecting. From reading from what I've read from Silver Surfer Black, I'm like, he's the one that's gonna freaking save everyone.
Well, he's the one who drew blood on Null, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he's the one that was able to hurt him, or actually make him bleed.
So you think that like Silver Surfer shows up, it's about to get real.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
Did you still want me to flip through these pages, or do you remember?
Yeah, just because if you want to keep it consistent with like each issue, just so I'm not all over the place, like remembering what happens in what order.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, do you remember anything that happened in issue 4?
Maybe once you start mentioning things. I read these things as like a complete story. I don't always remember which issue took place or what
happened before or after.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one, it shows Dylan like basically Null trying to get into his head and get control of him finally, and Dylan's struggling to fight him, and eventually he kind of not gives in, but like he surrenders to his power, I guess, because he killed his dad, and now he's like pissed off and kind of like dug deep into his power and was able to hurt Null, as you could tell here. He's like grabbing his arm and like burning it with whatever power he has, and it's affecting him so much that all the other heroes are getting dispersed from the symbiotic control from everyone. So everyone's getting released from his control. Yeah.
And by this point, I actually thought I was like, damn, like Dylan's going to be the one to stop it, because I kind of feel like they built that up a lot. Like Dylan was going to be the one to stop Null,
but it still wasn't enough.
And it still wasn't enough. It's never enough.
Yeah, and it shows here too. This is what I meant, that Black Cat was one of the really good tie-ins to read if you were to read a tie-in, because it shows here what led up to where this point is, where she basically rescues Doctor Strange from the cocoon of symbiotes, and gives him this I forget what staff it was, but he becomes like a god of the Sorcerer Supreme,
the Tree of Life, the Yggdrasil.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool, seeing Doctor Strange into this new form. Looks pretty badass.
That's the one that she's holding, right? That turns her all like gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Staff of Yggdrasil, I believe.
Yeah. And then this is insane because you see like the city. Oh, and here's where Namor finally pops up.
I forgot about that.
Literally says about time.
It's like
They
about
call
time I
him.
show up.
Yeah, it says Namor, you're up. About time. And it shows like him controlling the waves and kind of like drowning the Celestials. I thought that was kind of cool.
He did
And I'm
something.
like, see, like they didn't need a tie-in. Like they could have just showed him up here, and he showed up, and
It could have been a one issue tie-in and then
yeah,
just
yeah,
showed up. Just give him a reason to show up.
yeah,
It didn't need to be 5 issues.
yeah. And then Storm was finally able to break free, and she electrocutes a ton of like other enemies. And Null and Dylan's still fighting, and then bam, Jean Grey shows up, and I was pretty blown away by this too. I wasn't expecting Jean Grey to show
Yeah.
up anytime soon, and she just straight up like threatens Null and says, "Let's see what makes you bleed." I'm like, oh
Yes.
man,
I remember this. Okay.
yeah. I thought
Yeah, I
that was
remember
really
this. Like
cool. I
she
got
gets into his
chills.
head, right?
Yeah, and yeah, just seeing all that like, and her psychic power kind of like breaking his ego and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. And even just reading that line, like, let's see what makes you bleed, like, gave me chills. And then
Yeah,
going
she
through it, she starts realizing like what he went through, all the way back, like from the beginning. And it was really cool for her to see what he went through, because this is one of the specific scenes that were right here, shown in Thor: God of Thunder, for the Gore's story arc. And
that's
it's
pretty cool that they
basically All Black versus I forgot the God of Light or whoever that was. Uh, shoot, which one was it? Because this shows the being, which is Captain Universe. That's like the orb that was helping this character to fight against the God of the Abyss at that back in that time.
remember all the speculation about Captain Universe before King and Black started, or not started, but before like even
Oh
finished,
yeah,
like or
yeah,
issue 2 came out. I think people are already
yeah,
speculating it.
yeah. I think it was I can't was it Captain Universe like issue 15 or something? It had something to do with Mr. E or something
Yeah,
like that. So yeah, he was or she was not necessarily overpowered, but like she didn't want to get consumed by him, so she like passed out and needed help because she experienced what like darkness was.
yeah,
And sure enough, when it starts narrating like someone coming, and it starts saying like, oh, like in this panel it says, Jean, don't worry, or worry not. I am here. And and it shows the Silver Surfer Black, and I'm like, oh man, he's finally gonna join the fight, and it shows him getting this light orb from his chest and using it to pierce the planet
darkness.
Earth
Yeah,
to get through to planet Earth. And you see Null pissed off. He's like, no.
yeah, that was such a powerful scene to just
Yeah,
see somebody who was able to break through the darkness, and of course
yeah,
it had to be Silver Surfer.
yeah. Of course, man. It just seeing him like just overpowered and being able to break through like nothing was super cool. Then going fast forward into it, you see I guess what they call the Enigma Force, and it shows Captain, or not Captain, Reed Richards saying he knows who it is, and it's Captain Universe, and
Yeah.
he's like holding it, and it heads up towards Eddie Brock, and Eddie Brock possesses the light power.
Oh, and for anyone, in this issue, I believe is one where they state like the reason they're bringing up Captain Universe is they were saying that there was an opposite of Null. That whereas
Yes.
Null is the darkness, there is the opposite who is the light, and that
Yeah.
was yeah. I don't think you mentioned that, and that's actually kind of important to this.
Yeah.
And
Well,
So
I mean, I mentioned it when I was talking about Silver Surfer Black.
well, yeah, but to
Yeah,
specifically tie it to this, that for like there's an opposite to everything, I guess. And so for
yeah,
Null to be the god of dark, there has to be a god of light,
yeah,
and it's Captain Universe.
yeah. And I guess Captain Universe is kind of like not an idea, but like a force that chooses like which being it wants to help out or
Yeah, become
fuse
a
with
part
at
of.
the time to
Yeah,
to repel the darkness or whatever.
yeah. And so
And I think they from what I read in the King and Black series, Silver Surfer Black was the carrier that he chose to deliver that in order to choose Eddie Brock to fight against Null.
yeah, which leads
Yeah.
us into 5,
Hmm.
where you see him take on the light in that last panel, correct?
Yeah.
And so how does 5 start again? Because I remember a major point like midway to the end, but
You want me to just pull the issue?
yeah, yeah, let's just do that.
All right, for sure.
Because this one's still more fresh in my head, but I'm just trying to remember
It is, yeah. Like the
the key
order.
points. I don't want to start talking about the end of it,
Yeah.
or midway through when there's like some important stuff in the beginning.
Yeah. So the beginning of it shows Silver Surfer Black finally going toe to toe. Now we could use
There
that
you go.
term. We
Yeah,
use
because now he's actually going toe to toe. He stands a
yeah.
chance,
Yeah. Like
kind
Silver
of.
Surfer Black is not even closely scared of Null, which is ridiculous. So it shows him break through his I guess his black form and turn into his normal form.
Yeah,
And because he I guess he lost the Captain Universe orb or the Enigma Force. So now he's kind of like back to normal, but still, pretty powerful. And he uses his board to form this huge sword and starts is about to fight him, and he straight up tell him. He says, and I think he says that he had remembered him, and that's referencing back to the King and Black or the Silver Surfer
Silver
Black
Black. Yeah,
storyline from way back when. And he basically says like, oh, like I admire you, little light, and I will remember you. You will die a noble death. And Silver Surfer responds to perhaps. I'm like, oh man.
that
And
arrogance
he's and
of
he's
all.
just yeah, and he's just smiling like there's no
Yeah,
way he could beat him. And bam, this splash page was really
I
cool.
love
And he
that
says,
page.
yeah, and Silver Surfer basically says, but I shall not face it alone. And it shows, the Avengers. There's the big popular phrase,
Oh, yeah,
Avengers
the
Assemble.
Avengers symbol.
Yeah, and it shows the X-Men,
Fantastic Four. Or am
Fantastic
I tripping?
Four. Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah,
has Thing there and Sue Storm, got
yeah.
Thor up there, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and whatnot, and a bunch of other heroes. And then boom, Venom shows up to the fight with the Enigma Force in him, or Captain Universe power. And he says, but we'll take it from here. And it
Oh wait,
shows him, what's
I
that?
don't remember. Was it in this one or was it in the Venom that ties in where because he had lost the symbiote, remember? And he's
Yeah.
just like, "I'll always find you," and
Oh
that's
yeah,
when he just
he
like
kept on
wiped the tear
repeating
from
that.
your eye
Yeah.
because he had
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much lost it at that point. That it was literally just Eddie Brock
Yeah.
with the Captain Universe light within him
Yeah.
and no actual symbiote, but the Venom symbiote finds him and attaches himself to him and once again.
Yeah, finally being together as
Yeah.
Venom. And so this was one of the I think coolest scenes that I read in this issue.
Yes.
And this I don't think this has been seen ever before, because I've never seen this, but Venom like reaches out to Mjolnir, and the hammer goes away from Thor and into Venom's hands, and I
Yes,
thought that was really cool.
he calls Mjolnir the way Thor does.
Yeah, and they're both worthy, but Venom's more worthy right now than Thor, which is insane.
To just take it from Thor, not just call it instead of Thor, but to take it
Yeah,
out of Thor's hand.
yeah, and yeah, I've never seen that done before in any of the comics history, and also taking Silver Surfer's board as a sword and pretty much right here fuses them together and creates a battle axe of it, which is insane, and calls himself the Comeback King.
Yes, because that's literally what he is.
Yeah.
Throughout, like from Venom #1 to now, like the
Yeah,
guy is
because it
just failed and died and hurt
yeah,
people, and
yeah,
you
and
know,
not just as Venom, but like a lot of it as Eddie Brock. Like he
yeah,
tries his best to be a good employee where he works, to be kind to people, but he just fails and messes up a lot, but he doesn't give up to keep on fighting. And that's why a lot of people really love this character and his struggle to be better, and that's hence why they call him the Comeback King.
he truly is. Not the
Yeah,
comeback kid, which is the actual term.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
he's the comeback king. Like
yeah.
he
I
had
thought
to
that was a
really
really
stress
cool.
that.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool play on that name.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I
man,
love
look at
that
that
part.
battle axe, dude.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and if you look closely on his symbiote costume, you could see like constellation uh, designs on his
Yeah,
symbiote. So the battle starts, and he's straight up like chasing Null already, and Null's running away. But
like Null
that's
finally knew what he was up against, and is
yeah,
finally like, I don't know, like Null showed absolutely no fear from
yeah,
anything up until this point. This is the first time I think Null's like, oh shit.
yeah,
Like,
which is kind of funny, but because Null's still arrogant, that he's like, oh, like you have no chance or whatever, even though he's running away, and he straight
yeah,
up like cleaves this big dragon symbiote like its head off and goes into here, and I think he basically grabs the necro sword and disintegrates it just
yeah.
just from touching it. I was like, dang,
Well,
man, moving
think
forward.
he's pure light. Of course, he's
Yeah,
going to destroy the darkness. So
yeah,
the
this is
Necro Sword's
another.
gone.
Yeah, and this battle axe of Mjolnir and Silver Surfer's board put together, he uses it to cleave one of the Celestials' head right off.
Yeah, that was such a cool panel.
Yeah, and this is what I meant by big, like like AAA event. Like you got so much action and so much story, like just being driven through, like at a very fast pace. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And then him finally grabbing Null by the neck, and I thought this was really cool because it shows Spider-Man on the side, and he's just like, I hate this symbiote stuff, because he always says
Yeah,
that. He always has to deal with like Carnage and Venom and all throughout his life.
it's his own fault.
Yeah. And I thought this was a kind of cool drawing and like reference to um Thor cutting into Thanos's chest instead of cleaving his head off, because he kind of does the same thing. He starts like putting the axe through his chest right here
Yeah, they're
through
nulls.
Null,
Yeah,
and from his power he literally just rips off like his symbiotic power and grabs him by the neck, which you if you guys have read it or will start reading it, references back to the first issue where Null grabs Eddie Brock by the neck and tosses him into into the abyss right here,
yeah,
or not the abyss, but like tosses them falling into the city.
yeah. He literally did to Null what Null did to him.
Yeah, so now he's like bleeding and almost powerless at this point, and grabs him again, and brings him up to space, and like pretty much Venom's like pretty much flying everywhere now, like nothing, and um I guess does like a fire breath on him and melts his face right off. I thought that was really cool. And then he goes speeding down towards the sun, and Null is basically explaining to him that like there will always be darkness, and you will be swallowed by it, blah blah blah. And he said you will be doomed to drown in your kingdom of black or whatever. But he doesn't care, so he brings him straight into the sun and tells him that this is for Dylan, and like starts burning him to death until he gets incinerated.
It was so good.
Yeah,
Like he literally
yeah,
killed him with the light. Like that
yeah.
was
Straight into yeah.
yeah, like it makes it so much better.
Yeah, and basically at this point, Captain Universe is telling him, like, "Oh, do you feel it? You've done it." They are singing to you, Edward. Null, he is gone, and his hive. They are. Um, what is it? Oh, just a minor panel where it shows like all the vampires like cheering on, like that they've won and stuff. And Blade just starts slicing him. You're still a vampire.
Just Blade being Blade.
Yeah, basically. Just doesn't like Nightwalkers,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And in this panel, it shows Thor and Silver Surfer getting
Yeah,
their
they're bored
board
and
and
Hammerback.
hammer back.
Doesn't Thor even make a comment about like having not seen something like that before? In that
Which one he
panel right
said?
there on the bottom.
He just says it would appear that the battle has been won.
Oh, okay, never mind. I thought he said
Yeah,
something else. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And then it shows Venom starting to float down back to Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the light leaves him, right? Or
and
has
the
left him,
light, um, I
or is
think,
leaving him now.
is
Like
leaving
shortly
him
after.
now.
Yeah. So the light leaves him, or oh,
Yeah,
sorry, he
well,
reconciles with
Dylan's
Dylan.
still affected by Null, so he's trying to get like the pain out. Um, so Eddie Brock basically hugs him and releases him of his pain by like digging deep into his I guess his soul,
Yeah.
and releasing the darkness away
That's
from him.
right. I forgot about that. Okay. He
Yeah,
literally puts his hand through his chest
yeah,
and rips it out of him.
yeah. And then that's when the Enigma Force or Captain Universe uh, goes away, and he basically tells him, "You've done well, Edward, but I must leave you. You do not need the light to protect you, and not anymore. You have a new role now. You have become something else, something new." And I'm like, I wonder what's building
This
up
was
to
that moment.
that.
This was that
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, and then it says right here, I can hear them. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh man, he has
Oh,
control of
something we never mentioned through this whole thing before you touch on that.
yeah,
The reason that panel is important is the Venom symbiote was never part of the hive. That Noel
yeah,
never understood why he couldn't connect with
yeah,
that symbiote specifically.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
because
like happened through like the Venom and the King in Black stuff.
right. And the thing that I forgot to go over was the reason why the symbiotes back then, or the Clintar, retaliated against Null was because um, I think that at one point in Planet Earth, when Thor struck the dragon symbiote down, a bunch of particle or like symbiotes like split, um, and went on their own to like fuse with other humans on planet
Yeah.
Earth, and the humans that the symbiotes like fused with were loyal warriors that believed in good and stuff, and they saw that light and was influenced by them.
Yeah.
And later on, when they were, after the warriors died, like they split apart, and so many of the symbiotes and the hive were so influenced by the light and the goodness of people that they eventually, teamed up together by the millions and encased. That's when they encased Null and created the planet of the symbiotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to that where he says like he can hear them.
Mm. Yeah. So that's where we left off, and going into this page, and it shows him
With his
with the
wings.
with the symbiote wings, saying, "You are the King in Black."
That moment, just to like
Yeah,
I don't know how I didn't see that coming.
yeah,
Um, like when he was like, you're something else now and this and that, and he's like, I can hear it. I was just like,
yeah.
or I can hear them. What's going on? Like, what is he?
Oh,
Like,
as soon as he said that, like, I already knew that he had control of the like the hive and the other symbiotes and stuff. I didn't know he was gonna get the
the
title of the King
title.
in Black.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I figured like he was now connected to the hive, but I didn't
yeah,
understand why, or how. But it's
yeah.
the fact that he is. Yeah, I don't want to say it because I mean you already said it, but because I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want to spoil it for Shelby because she's in
yeah.
earshot. I don't want to ruin that for her. I think
Yeah,
she
for
has
sure.
headphones on, but I don't want to spoil that specific part. I think other
Yeah,
things she could have disregarded without detail.
yeah. But for
But that's kind of
when
important.
that ended, and I was kind of wondering, I'm like, is the power of the King in Black kind of similar to the Captain Universe power, where it, like,
It can be
selects.
passed on, and
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
or it
So
passes
whoever,
itself on.
yeah. So that's what I'm wondering, since Eddie Brock was able to get the King in Black's power.
Or is
And
it if you defeat the King in Black, you take on the King in Black's like powers? Maybe.
maybe,
Maybe I
but
don't
the
know. I mean,
but
this is the
the but the
first time, so
yeah, but the fact that Venom has it, and Venom's like more of a good guy as opposed to like Null,
yeah,
is very interesting, and I'm
makes you.
looking forward to where that's going to lead to.
Yeah, one more issue, and well,
Yeah, not the King
specifically
in Black issue, but
Venom.
yeah,
Yeah,
Venom
one more Venom
is
issue.
ending on the Legacy number 200th issue, or Venom 35 will
Yeah,
be the
and
last
that's
issue.
next month, I think. May. I want to say it's May. It might
I
be
guess so.
June, but I think it's May.
Yeah, I don't know the release date for it.
Yeah. And now for anyone who remembers, I think it was last week when I said that cover, it was obvious, like the Venom 35. It's so obvious what happens when you get to this point.
Yeah,
Or like that it got to this point, and that
yeah,
damn well what's going to happen if you look at that cover and then the end of this. You're just like, how did I not see that? Like he's sitting on a throne.
yeah. Well, I mean,
But
I think when I saw that cover, I automatically assumed that, okay, well, he won, obviously.
well, yeah, and I got that, but it's like now that I
Yeah,
think about it, it's like, okay, why else would he be sitting there?
on a throne. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's good writing. I mean, that it like,
yeah,
it's one of those things that's like, it's obvious and it's in your face, but the way the story's going, it kind of tricks you into thinking that it might be something else, I guess. That
yeah,
it could potentially be like a different route. But no, like, so overall, I know I didn't remember everything in the order, and I apologize for that. I just, like I said, I read these things as like as a whole story, not individual. Even if I read them individually, I take them all in as like
yeah,
a whole story. Um,
yeah. Same here.
but for specifically like the King in Black issues, I'd have to like just rate this like as like a 9 out of 10 in terms of just like pacing, like how epic it was, like its ups and downs, mostly downs, as I said.
Yeah,
There are a couple things like the Captain Universe thing kind of bringing a little hope. The Silver Surfer kind of coming in, and had Silver Surfer not shown up, we don't know if he would have been able to forge that weapon that would have helped him defeat Null.
yeah,
Um, so like yeah, like so many ups and downs in the story, and Cates really knows how to get you hooked and invested in every single character that's on that page.
Yeah.
Starting with like Venom up to now, even. Like that, and we didn't even mention him, but like that first Reed Richards that they introduce in was it issue 7, I think? In issue 7 when it introduces Reed Richards. Or that
Uh,
like weird version of Reed Richards.
he's from the Ultimates universe.
Yeah, like him. Like when they first like introduce him, like you're just kind of like, like what's his importance? But you slowly learn that like he is actually important. He
Yep.
plays kind of a big role in part of the story, and his fate kind of sucks, like what happens to him,
Yeah.
but they I don't know, like he really knows how to get you sucked into a story. And I mean, look how much time I invested into like reading this stuff, as well as you. We
Yeah.
were behind, like we got into it at like after it had already started, and made a point to just like binge everything to catch up.
Yeah,
To
because
like
we didn't know exactly where to start reading in order to build up to the King in Black. So we did, our research and our reading orders and whatnot, and was able to produce this stuff that we recommended for you in the beginning of the video. So I hope you guys appreciated it, and hope you guys take a chance to try and read that in order to lead up to this awesome event.
yeah, so amazing, just
Yeah.
start to finish. It was good. Like, and one thing we actually didn't mention, it's not, it's like very far from required reading order, but
Mhm.
read his Thor run. Like it has like some light connections to it, specifically to Silver Surfer. Nothing major, but it kind of also gives you an explanation as to why Thor doesn't show up right away till, was it issue
Yeah.
3? So you kind of just get a little backstory on what Thor is doing.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise, a big event and Thor's not present. Not the first
Yeah.
time that happened.
Yeah.
But
Civil War.
yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, like just I'd recommend reading Thor, like just throwing that out there for anyone still listening. Um, just partly because it's a great story that Donny Cates is writing, but it's like loose connection to the King in Black,
Yeah.
event. Just it just makes it a little bit better if you already like are invested in Donny Cates' stuff.
Yeah. Like there's not that much to tie into King in Black with a Thor run, but it's just to answer like what Thor is currently doing before he arrived to planet Earth.
And it also, without giving too much spoilers, it does involve a little Silver Surfer Black too.
Yeah.
So if you want a little more Silver Surfer Black, you can also read the first few
Yeah.
issues of Thor.
Yeah. I can't get enough of Silver Surfer Black. So
No, no, we need more Silver Surfer Black, but I don't want it to ruin the magic behind Silver Surfer Black.
yeah.
But anyway, so that wraps up like my opinion on it. Just overall, like amazing event. Something that, oh man, like if this doesn't get made into like a film series, I'm gonna be upset. Like
Right.
it's so good, and it's like
Yeah.
it's written in a way that I feel like it could be adapted to like a film series and not a TV series.
Yeah.
Please, for the love of God, do not make it a TV series. This deserves. It doesn't even need to be like an 18 movie run. Just give it like a 7 or 8 movie run. At the very least. I know that's
Yeah.
asking a lot, but they can focus on a couple like solid Venom films, and then
I'm like, nah, they can make it into an 18 movie run.
well, of course
To
they
make
could. They could, and they should.
yeah.
God, can you imagine a Silver Surfer Black movie?
Oh man. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Absolute
So,
Carnage. Oh man.
oh man, that would be like rated R.
Yeah.
It would have to be. But
Yeah.
no,
Or even just doing the Venom run and introducing the Null and stuff.
yeah,
I think that would be amazing.
to just see this adapted like on the actual like live, like live action would be amazing. And
Yeah.
I think this is up there, with things like the Infinity Saga, that it would warrant like a ton of movies,
Yeah.
because
I
like
mean,
you said, tie in the Absolute Carnage, tie in the Venom. And it's cool because there's a large portion of that Venom that could be taken out. Like
yeah.
you don't need the Venom Island stuff. Like obviously
No.
it's good to read, you know, it's fun, you know, it loosely ties in, but for like a movie, for like a movie purpose, like you can cut that out and just stick to like, you know, the beginning of it and then beyond, and the Absolute
Yeah.
Carnage stuff, obviously, and then do like a run or a like a movie or two based around Absolute Carnage,
Yeah.
and then just tie it off with like the King in Black and just watch Venom just destroy Null.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to see that in cinematic format. But,
Yeah, so good.
but yeah, I would probably give it same score, 9 out of 10. I mean, not everything that I wanted to happen happened, but it was still overall a great event, and I was glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, I was
Um,
glad to actually like witness it as it was happening.
yeah, and it was
Uh,
great to have someone else to share that experience with,
yeah,
like
no, that
going through the weeks and stuff and
I
being
feel like we
excited for it.
outside of like comiXalliance, I feel like we talked about. I feel like we did less talking about King and Black on this podcast than we did, you know, like through text messages and
Oh yeah.
you know, like in person when we like catch each other at the comic store,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, because like that was all we like talked about for months.
Yeah,
You know, anytime a new issue would come out, and it was
yeah.
just so good, and like it had me so hooked. Like I don't know, like waiting 4 months for it to finish was painful,
Oh yeah.
you know, and now having to wait an additional month or plus for the like final issue of Venom to just top it all off and just kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, finish everything and it just be done.
Yeah.
You know,
I
it's
mean, if you think that's painful, the last Ronin.
yeah, we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
I'm
But
sure we will have many more conversations about the last Ronin.
yeah.
But what's a
Yeah.
comiXalliance podcast without bringing up the last Ronin?
Right. Yeah, so guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys stayed with us all throughout the whole podcast episode, we thank you so much. We hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and check out this awesome event. Let us know what you think if you've read it already, or comment down below if you read it in the future and want to share us the thoughts that you have in regards to whether it be the stories previous to it or the main event. And if you guys are also on Instagram, feel free to give us a follow on comiXalliance on Instagram. That's spelled COMIXALLIANCE, where do we try to do daily posts on anything comic book related. We do comic book of the week. We do our weekly polls on through our videos and whatnot. So if you guys like that stuff, feel free to follow us. If you guys like the video, shoot us a like here. And yeah, just do you have anything for them?
Nope, that's it. I think you
All
covered
right.
it. All right,
Thank you
have a
so
good night,
much,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you.
I'll see you next time.
All right, see ya.